To honour her late son, on the anniversary of his death, Awatir lights a lantern in his memory, a small moment symbolising resilience, hope and love for him and her people.
We've all come together, take this time to remember him and let this lantern sort of carry our love for him and our brother, for your dad. And it's like that hot air that's going to carry that lantern up into the sky is like filling with all of our love for them. Yeah, this means a lot to me. Thanks everybody. Do I just let it go?
Yep. She releases it into the darkness.
Whoa.
The paper lantern rises into the air, and as it moves into the distance, it seems to join the stars in the night sky.
Oh, look at that, it's just a flicker.
David Seymour's bill has itself acted like a touch paper, lighting up passionate debate. There's a demand for equity of treatment in which historical legacy is recognised and unequal circumstances are addressed. And on the other side, there's a call for straightforward equality for all. They're presented as incompatible, but many New Zealanders are left wondering if they really are, and what would be truest to their nation's founding document and the wishes of the Maori chiefs and officials of the Crown who signed it all those years ago. That's Assignment. I'm Alex Van Vel. The producer was Arlene Gregorius.
That was Assignment from the BBC. I'm Saroja Coelho, and this is CBC Radio 1. Have a great day.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We're on location again for this edition of Information Radio on CBC. 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube. We are up Pembina Highway at number 9 Killarney. That is the Tim Hortons here, and we're in the riding of Winnipeg South. We have a lot to talk about here as we get to know the candidates, as we learn about the issues, and we push closer to federal election day. Our drive here was dry, but I'll tell you what, it could get wet later. We do have a chance of showers in our forecast for Winnipeg. Our high 13. Brandon, mainly cloudy, high 9. Thompson, you're expecting some snow continuing this morning. Your temperature is going to be steady around 6 degrees. Right now in Winnipeg, we're the warm spot in the province, actually. It is 8 degrees. 3 minutes to 6 o'clock. We're on air till 8:37. Let's say good morning to the team. Brad Lillies and Abby Adiemi back in our control room. As well here on location, Donna Carrero, our producer, and Corey Funk. And thank you to Tim's and Nasli Sharma for having us here at this location for our broadcast. Let's go to headlines. Heather Wells is here to update the news. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, a new City of Winnipeg report is pushing to implement a host of new bylaw offences. The 37 new rules would cover a range of activities clamping down on property owners and construction contractors. Among the recommended offences, failing to start or complete demolition projects on time. Well, the Winnipeg Jets wrapped up their regular season with an overtime win against the Anaheim Ducks, and they also scored a franchise record for points in the regular season. That's not all. For the second straight year, goalie Connor Hellebuck winning the Jennings Trophy for playing a minimum of 25 games and allowing the fewest goals in the regular season. Now we head to the playoffs. Saturday evening at 5 is the time as the Jets have home ice advantage against the St. Louis Blues. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
Woohoo!
Yes.
So exciting. Right? If you see someone under my desk at work, shoo them away. They might be looking for my Jets jersey. I keep it there just in case.
Now you've just told everyone we're all going to be going there.
Okay, well, protect it. Don't steal it.
Okay, I got your back.
I need to wear it at some point here. All right, let's talk about what's coming up in the show. We're going to hear from some kids, their advice for the Jets. That'll be fun. That's a little bit later. To politics, we, of course, do want to invite you down to the Tims at Killarney at Pembina here if you have questions for candidates. You want to tell us what you care about in this upcoming election. This is a very interesting riding, and we're going to lay out all of its past voting history once we officially start the show after World Report. Right now, 1 to 6.
Today on Q with Tom Power.
When you go through the best-known works by the Canadian filmmaker Deepa Mehta, something that keeps on coming up is controversy and backlash. Sometimes her films led to protests, burning effigies, invasions of her sets, but she'll tell you why she never wants to be called controversial.
And it's okay to have voices in the diaspora who challenge you. I like that.
That's coming up on Q, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdel Mahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Canadians have another chance to hear from party leaders in their final showdown before the election. They debate again tonight, this time in English. Last night's debate in French was mostly a cordial affair with no clear winner. Trump, trade, and track records were some of the issues. Rafi Boudjikanian was watching.
Les Canadiens, vous êtes bien mieux de gagner.
Radio-Canada host Patrice Roy telling the Habs they better win after the Debates Commission moved last night's leaders face-off up by 2 hours to avoid a major conflict for audiences. A light-hearted moment in an evening that had few.
On shake dans nos culottes quand l'automobile va pas bien.
We shake in our pants when Ontario's auto industry is not doing well, said Yves-François Blanchet, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, trying to paint Liberal Mark Carney as someone who does not have Quebec's interests at heart, saying he's helping the auto industry with massive counter-tariffs but not his province's aluminum sector.
Vos chiffres sont mauvais.
Your numbers are off, Carney pushed back. Blanchet also attacked him and other party leaders on their finances.
J'appelle ça des cadres financiers Harry Potter.
Accusing them of making Harry Potter budget promises. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre did reveal where he would make some cuts.
On va couper les consultants.
We'll get rid of government consultants, he said, and added he would also cut down on bureaucracy by attrition, not replacing every public sector worker who retires.
Il va couper les services de santé. Mark Carney aussi, elle a dit clairement.
The NDP's Jagmeet Singh accusing both Poilievre and Carney of targeting healthcare for cuts, something both men deny. But nobody has released the costed platform, leaving everyone open to this kind of criticism, something likely to come up at the English debate tonight, with only 10 days to go until Election Day. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Montreal.
Tonight, Susan Bonner and Pia Chattopadhyay will bring you full coverage and analysis of the federal leaders' English language debate, and then it will be your chance to weigh in. Stay tuned for a special edition of Cross Country Checkup. Ian Hannah-Mansing will take calls to hear your reactions to the debate. It all begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on CBC Radio and the CBC News app. A crucial battleground in the April 28th election is the riding of a ring of municipalities surrounding the city of Toronto, known as the 905. The region has been dominated by the Liberals for the past 3 elections, but before that, the 905 was key to Conservative victories under Stephen Harper. Mike Crawley takes us to one riding seen as a must-win for Pierre Poilievre's Conservative team.
Drivers commuting home in the riding of Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, a prime target for the Conservatives. The Liberals won this seat by fewer than 1,500 votes last election, their slimmest margin of victory in the Greater Toronto Area.
That is the battleground.
Fred Delory is a former national campaign director for the Conservatives. He says the 31 seats in this region are pivotal.
There's tight races, and any path to government goes through the 905.
What's on voters' minds here?
Number one, that we do not become the 51st state, for sure. I am not happy with the Liberals. They just seem to do the same thing over and over again.
Currently, I'm undecided. We'll see what they say in the next coming weeks.
Volunteers gather at the Liberal campaign office in Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill. Candidate Leah Taylor-Roy says the tone of what she heard from voters shifted once Justin Trudeau resigned in Ottawa and Donald Trump took office in Washington.
So people were really angry. And I think now there's not as much anger, but there's fear. There's concern, anxiety. It's now about protecting our country and what's best for our country. And
CBC News requested an interview with the Conservative candidate, Kostas Menegakis, but did not receive a reply. The Tories have had success in this riding before, as recently as 2019, and in 2011 took every seat in the 905 but one. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Richmond Hill, Ontario.
The future of Ukraine is at the center of a series of talks beginning today in Paris. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will be part of the meetings with French President Emmanuel Macron. The 2 Trump advisors are expected to hear European concerns about Russia. The meeting is taking place as Washington continues its efforts to arrange a ceasefire. Ukraine is also at the table for this round of talks. The country's foreign minister, defense minister, and a presidential advisor have also arrived in Paris to participate. Averting a wider conflict with Iran is also part of the conversation today. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is in Washington for a sit-down with U.S. President Donald Trump. Meloni is there to talk tariffs. She's hoping to position herself as a key broker between the European Union and the U.S. administration. But as Megan Williams tells us from Rome, some worry she may put Italy's interests ahead of EU unity.
Among Europe's major powers, Italy's right-wing leader, Giorgia Meloni, is the most ideologically aligned with President Trump. They're both nationalist, anti-immigration, and frequently accuse mainstream media of bias. Meloni was the only EU leader to attend Trump's inauguration. And now she's the first to meet him face-to-face since he announced steep new tariffs on European goods. With Italy's export-driven economy at stake and a $60 billion trade surplus with the U.S. to protect, she's walking a diplomatic tightrope. Political analyst Cecilia Emma Sottilotta says Meloni's trying to keep two audiences happy, Italy and the EU.
On the one hand, she wants to present herself as the privileged partner of the U.S. On the other hand, she wants to look reliable vis-a-vis the European partners.
Trump's temporary 90-day pause on tariffs gives Meloni some breathing room, enough to play the role of mediator, not deal maker. Still, French officials worry she could break EU ranks and push for Italy to have a bigger transatlantic role. It's a scenario former head of the Bank of Italy, Pierluigi Ciocca, calls unlikely. I don't think Meloni will risk alienating Europe over Italian Parmesan and Prosecco, he said. On Friday, Meloni hosts U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance here in Rome, hoping to further raise Italy's influence with the Trump administration. Megan Williams, CBC News, Rome.
A key hearing for the Menendez brothers begins today. A Los Angeles judge will decide if Eric and Lyle will be resentenced. The brothers have been behind bars for 3 decades for killing their parents, but now their family is arguing new evidence means their sentence should be reduced. Steve Futterman has the details.
The Menendez brothers were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in 1996. In the last year, though, there's been a new push by supporters and relatives of the brothers to have the case reviewed, sparked by what they claim is new evidence that the brothers were sexually abused by their father, Jose. Anna Marie Baralt is a Menendez family member.
If Lyle and Eric's case were heard today, with the understanding we now have about abuse, there is no doubt in my mind that their sentencing would have been very different.
Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman opposes any resentencing. He says the sexual abuse defense is a ploy and that the brothers, during their trial, testified that was not the reason they killed their parents.
They do not meet the standards for resentencing. They have not exhibited the full insights and accepted complete responsibility for their actions.
The brothers will be connected to the courtroom today with a video link, and it's possible they will make statements and give testimony. If the judge reduces their sentence, Eric and Lyle Menendez would likely be eligible for parole. But even if the parole board recommends their release, it could still be blocked by California Governor Gavin Newsom. Steve Futterman for CBC News, Los Angeles.
We have found evidence for possible biological activity on an exoplanet.
That is Cambridge University's Niku Madhusudan. He says scientists have found possible signs of life on an alien planet. The Cambridge team used a powerful telescope to detect molecules associated with life. The planet is called K2-18b. It is 2.5 times the size of Earth and 120 light years away. The planet has a vast ocean and a hydrogen-rich atmosphere. The team describes the discovery as historic in the search for life elsewhere in the universe, but Madhusudan has this warning.
This is a monumental discovery, but we also have to be extremely cautious. We have to deal with it very carefully in that we want to be really, really robust in establishing whether this is actually life that we are seeing.
The scientists want to do more study to be sure there is no other way that molecules can be made without life. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. We are live here in Winnipeg South at the Tims, the Killarney, and Pembina Highway. What an interesting riding. Get ready to listen to the voters. How will you be voting?
Liberal.
Why are you supporting the Liberals?
Because my family always was Liberal. PC, all they're out is for the money.
I'm voting blue. Any party that allows me to practice my faith, take care of my family, protect my family.
So those are two voters, and it's interesting because one voting Conservative, one voting Liberal. We will hear from more throughout the morning as our broadcast continues. But this riding is a bellwether riding. What does that mean? It means across the country, parties are looking at Winnipeg South. Since 1988, they've got a perfect record. They voted for a Liberal. They have an incumbent for the last 10 years. Before that, they had a Conservative representative for a number of years. Every time this area of Winnipeg votes, they match what happens in the federal outcome. That's the party that wins the election. So we're in Winnipeg South, and we're going to hear more about that as well, and we're going to talk more about the candidates that will be coming here to Tim's to talk with us this morning about why they think they should win this year. So stay tuned. Right now, let's go quickly to Heather Wells, who's in our news center.
Good morning. Well, some businesses operating under Winnipeg's most famous intersection are worried about their future. Portage and Main is scheduled to open to pedestrians July 1st. A 2024 city report said work to repair the underground concourse would cost more than closing it. The city has said it appears the fate of businesses below ground is still undecided. Plans to build an assisted living facility in Winnipeg's LeMay Forest hit yet another roadblock. The municipal board has rejected an appeal from the developer. The board says the project is too dense for the land in question. Now, of course, the premier has already said the province will expropriate that land in St. Norbert and create a provincial park. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right, thanks, Heather. Let's go to the weather now with Abby. Hi, good morning, Abby.
Good morning, Marcy. How was your drive down there?
Pretty good. Dry so far, but I understand we might have a chance of showers, right?
Did you notice the street sweepers? Were they out
you know
already?
what? Not on our route, but I bet you they're out and about everywhere, hey?
Yeah, they're out and about across the regions today. We're actually looking at cloudy skies, light rain in the forecast, cooler temperatures. Conditions will be easing as we get into the day. Down south, as usual, since the beginning of the week, it's going to be mild, while the north is experiencing some snow in the area. We still have that snowfall warning in effect for northern Manitoba, which is impacting Gillam and nearby areas. We have that snow that has been falling since yesterday, though this is expected to ease off later this morning. However, once this eases off, you're still going to be having poor visibility on the road, so you need to take care. Talking about the Red River Valley region, right now Winnipeg 7 degrees. It's cloudy outside. A few showers spotted this morning, but those should clear up this as we get into the day, and then the clouds will be sticking around for most of the day. As we get into the day, we'll see the winds will be shifting coming from the north, making it a bit breezy this afternoon. Now, despite that fact, that cloudy conditions we're going to be having, it's going to be a fairly mild day. We'll warm up to 13 degrees today, Marcy.
All right, thanks a lot, Abby.
Thank you.
Back into the double digits. Quick report on the traffic situation. Corey Funk's on location with me here.
Quiet, little wet out there, though. Give us a call if you see anything
I just
going
said
on.
it wasn't wet.
A wet underfoot. I would say under wheel and underfoot. Yes. I noticed at least on my bike ride in, but maybe it's dried up a bit. Give us a call if you see anything else going on out there. 204-788-3093.
6:14 is the time right now, so let's set the scene for where we are here. So obviously Winnipeg South, this used to have a different name. It's also been shortened now Winnipeg South, but it's expanded because we're out in St. Vital, kind of around U of M, of course, Killarney and Pembina, but this extends now all the way deep into including LaSalle, so it does extend past the city of Winnipeg, these big federal ridings, right? So in less than 2 weeks, those eligible to vote here are going to decide who they want to represent them in Ottawa. There's close to 100,000 Winnipeggers who call this part of the area home. So let's talk about who's running. Here we have former Conservative MLA Janice Morley-Lecomte, who's now running under the federal banner for the Conservatives. The Liberal incumbent is Terry Duguid. Political newcomer Joanne Bjornson is running for the NDP, and Manjit Kaur is running for the Green Party of Canada. There is also a candidate for the People's Party of Canada in this riding, Joanne Rempel-Fair. So we will hear live today from Liberal incumbent Terry Duguid, and also for the this morning for the NDP candidate, Joanne Bjornson. They will be joining us live here at the Tim, so we appreciate that. Conservative candidate and the Green Party candidate declined our invitation to be with us this morning, and the People's Party of Canada did not respond to our invitation for their candidate, Joanne Rampel-Fair. So we have an open invitation to you to come down and tell us what you're thinking about the upcoming election. Of course, now we're getting really into it. The leaders' debate's coming up tonight. We did spend 2 hours here in the riding. I did earlier in the week, touching base with folks. Not everyone here knows how they're going to vote come election day, even though we're getting close. Syed Takvi is one of those people. I ran into the first-time voter while I was out and about here in Winnipeg South, as I mentioned. Here's some of our conversation. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Do you vote out and live in this area of Winnipeg?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, in Winnipeg South.
Yes.
So what do you think about when you're out here thinking, the election's coming up? What kinds of things matter what issues do you think about when you're going to go to the polls?
Given the situation right now and the tariffs coming in and everything from the U.S., I'm looking forward for the elections, and I'm really looking forward for what our government is, taking steps and what our government's trying to do. And the situation right now is getting very tough with the tariffs and everything. So how can the new government, whoever it is, will be looking on it, and what are the steps they're taking on it? So, and one thing, the climate over here is getting changing every year. So I want to look how the new government, and what I'll be looking in when I'll be going to vote, who has the better steps for the sustainability, for the environment, and for the climate itself. Yeah.
What worries you about that? Is it the environment? Obviously, maybe that sounds like a silly question, but tell me a bit about that. You named it as one of your big concerns. So what's worrying you?
The climate change, because you see, we used to get a very huge amount of snow, but this year we have seen a change in it, and then our summers are getting more harsh, and our winters are getting less harsh. That's concerning to me, because that's in a short run that's good for us, but again in a long run that is a sign that the climate change is real, and there are things going on.
Are any of them talking about it enough on the campaign trail right now for you, the environment?
I think there are people who are talking enough, but there should be more, and we should be seeing more steps rather than just words. So when I'll be going to vote, I'll be checking on who is speaking on more on climate change and environment and sustainability for Canada itself, because we've been depending a lot on US. That's what I think. So whoever is taking more steps to get us self-dependent. So that's what I've been looking for when I'll be voting this year.
Have you voted in the past for, and if so, who have you supported?
I have been supporting Liberals when I came here, but I just got eligible to vote last year. So I'll be voting for the first time in Canada, but I think my mind has changed from I'm still on a deciding mode. But this is my first year. I'll be doing my votes.
Yeah. When you came here from where?
I came here from Pakistan, and that was in 2017 when I came here. And now that I can vote, I am I came here in 2017, and I've been supporting Liberals from then, but now I think I'm just on a boat where whoever takes me to
You're not sure.
I'm really not sure right now. Yeah.
Are you working or studying here? What's your life like here in Winnipeg South? I
work here and I study as well. So I'm a full-time student, but I also work. But yeah, I currently am this semester I've taken some courses. So this semester I'm majorly studying and working part-time.
So when you think about the Liberals, you said you came here, you had some support for the Liberals at the federal level.
Yeah.
Why is that waning?
The support was mainly because of Trudeau itself, and he was really famous at that time, and sometimes you just don't see the steps they're taking, you just see the picture and the words. So I think I was in that mode where I was just seeing him as he's a popular leader, and his words and all the promises that he was making at that time. So I think that was what was leaning me towards them. But again, as I said, that I'm really confused. I might just vote for Liberal, but might not. So yeah.
How much are you, when you vote, do you think about the, when you go to do your research, as you said, you're going to decide, will you look at, you brought the states up as a concern. Yeah. So will you look at Mark Carney and Jagmeet Singh and Pierre Poilievre and, the co-leaders of the Greens? Will you look at the leaders, or do you look at who's running here in your area?
Like on a bigger picture, I'll be looking for the leaders. The Carney is really good. He has taken some hard steps, which is good. So, but again, on a bigger picture, I'll be looking on the leaders. But on a small scale, I would be definitely looking for whoever is contesting in my area. I live in South, so I'll be looking for whoever is contesting on my area, and then definitely, I'll be looking for, when I'll be voting, I'll be definitely looking for that too. Yeah.
They all got rid of the carbon tax now. The Conservatives were talking about it for years. Yeah. The Liberals happen to be the ones to make the change. Yeah. But on the other hand, that was to go towards supporting the environment.
That's right.
I don't know what your thought is on that, because now you're paying less at the pumps, but some people are saying, what about the environment? I don't know if that's come up in your thinking yet, because you care about the environment.
That's a very good question. So, as I said, we have to look on a longer scale, because it's not just the government is just not here for a month, right? They'll be here for 4 years or maybe more. So we have to see what their steps are in, what the result would be in years after. So I think when I'll be voting, I'll be looking for longer picture, for longer run, not just for relief for this time. But again, since we have got into a very bad condition right now, the markets are getting worse. The expense is getting more day by day. So it's good to get some relief, but in a longer run, I should be looking for someone who has better steps for the sustainability.
We'll put some of your questions to the candidates and try to talk about their plans. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Akvi, an undecided voter here in Winnipeg South.
Ever hear a really good radio show and fall in love right away? Fall in love at first listen with the CBC Listen app. Find CBC radio shows like As It Happens and Now or Never, and stream them anytime, anywhere for free. Download CBC Listen today.
The following airtime is made available for messages provided by registered political parties as required by the Canada Elections Act.
A lot of us really don't want Pierre Poilievre to win this election. But the more I hear about Mark Carney, the more I worry. He's planning tax cuts for the rich and health care cuts for the rest of us. Here's the thing. We know we can count on the NDP. They've always fought for us, and we need them in Ottawa more than ever. Canada works best when the NDP's there. We just gotta vote for them. Authorized by the registered agent for the New Democratic Party of Canada.
The proceeding was a paid political ad. Hey, Manitoba, the Jets are in the playoffs. Later, we're going to hear some kids' advice to the players as they get ready to play their first game against the Blues on Saturday. So exciting stuff, although we've got some tough history with that team in the playoffs. We'll see how the Jets do in 2025. Right now, it is 7 degrees in Winnipeg. It's cloudy, and the streets are, in fact, wet here in South Winnipeg. Your drive, though, should be pretty solid. Call us if you have any problems. 788-3093. Reach Corey on the commuter line. Well, next on the show, so much of this federal election campaign has been about the economy, about the chaos from U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs, the cost of living for you, for all of us across this country, and also which party leader then people are wondering will best navigate through rough economic waters moving forward. The French language debate was last night. It gave us a little more clarity on that, but spoiler alert, not much. When it comes to economic plans being costed out, Moshe Landers here, professor in economics at Concordia University. Hey, Moshe.
I'm glad you said a little and not much, because that was exactly the big takeaway from last night. Good morning.
Right. Good morning. Now, the moderator even asked, let's just go straight to it, asked each and every leader, your costed economic plans, what are your costed plans, and got nothing back. What sense did you make of how much we didn't hear last night about the costed plans from these parties?
I'm going to hope that it was because they were arguing in their second language, with the exception of Monsieur Blanchet. But I think that if they were indicative of what we're going to see tonight in the English language, it was a little bit of a yawner. I don't think that they unveiled any new platforms. They didn't make any strong commitments. And it was really hard at times to make a distinction between the Liberals and the Conservatives. They do have a differing sense of what they want to do. But it was very modest and not the stark sort of contrast you would think for a party that's been in power for 10 years and one that's itching to get to power for the first time in 10 years.
Now, there were some differences highlighted, mostly, again, by the moderator, where they were looking at, the depth of the tax cuts are deeper under the Conservatives, a little bit less under the Liberals. But again, how are you going to pay for those cuts, right? Was nobody was costing it out, although Carney promised, I think, this weekend to have a plan come out. Let's talk about Poilievre's big picture plan for the economy in the era of tariffs. What did you get from the Conservatives to begin with them?
Well, I think that the one word that would sum it up was cuts. They want to cut income taxes. They wanted to cut GST on new home builds, GST on other goods and services that would try and help with affordability issues. They want to cut the size of the civil service, whether through attrition or whether through dollar for dollar new spending replacing old spending. They want to incentivize was a word that he used a lot. But incentivize is itself code for cuts. The idea of, if I want to get you to do something, I will offer you a tax cut. I'll offer you a tax credit. And of course, he is trying to really make sure that he has that support in Western Canada. And so talk of energy, especially the oil and gas energy, was really key to his view as to how Canada would be able to get around the Trump tariffs.
And what did you get from what Mr. Carney said about the Liberal plan?
Well, he came across as much more businesslike, which I guess would be appropriate. That is his background. He was looking at some tax cuts as well, a little more modest in what he was offering. I think the thing that caught the biggest attention was the $500 billion infrastructure investment plan. The idea was that the federal government would not be spending the $500 billion by themselves, but that they'd use provincial funds to maybe match with federal spending, or the private sector to match with federal spending, and all in that would add up to $500 billion. That's about 25% of the Canadian economy. And to try and upgrade Canada's infrastructure, that would also include energy, would also include oil and gas. Both of them were supporting dairy management, and of course Canadian values, which was the big topic from the NDP, for example.
Let's ask, what else were the NDP's big topics? Because obviously Jagmeet Singh kept talking about healthcare when you talk about affordability and where you're going to put money. He repeatedly wanted to put that on the table last night.
He did. Healthcare, pharmacare, dental care. Those were the big words that kept coming out of his mouth when he was given a chance to talk. He was a little bit more of the liberal hatchet man. He was constantly going after Pierre Poilievre, and it was kind of amusing at times the way that he would just keep attacking the Conservative plan, and you would just keep hearing back, not true, not true, not true. I think he realizes that he doesn't really have much of a shot here at forming a government, so the best that he can hope for is to be the kingmaker for the Liberals. And so I think what he wanted to highlight was that during the last Liberal government that we're just leaving behind now, one of the big things was the dental care, pharmacare plans that were essentially NDP priorities in exchange for supporting the Liberals. And so I think that was really all he was trying to communicate. And of course, given the 75 seats in Quebec, it really is anybody's game, although the Liberals do seem to have a lock on a lot of those seats. But the fact that it could go Conservative, BQ, or NDP, he wanted to really get to those French voters in Quebec and make them realize that the NDP is a viable option to try and keep the Liberals in check if they form the government, and to side against the Conservatives if they form the government.
All right, Moshe, we'll see what they do tonight when the English language debate starts at 6 o'clock, our central time here in Manitoba. Nice to have you on early. Thank you.
Go Jets.
That too. Moshe Lander is an economics professor at Concordia University. We are live in Winnipeg South riding. Speaking of which, we're hearing from voters already that are coming into this Tim's, Killarney and Pembina, that's where we are, who are vote here in Winnipeg South. Except Roland Bartholet actually says that he never voted in his life, but he has a reason for that. So he says because politicians deliver nothing but broken promises, says he's lived in Winnipeg all his life, and it, quote, hurts inside to see what's happening to people. If you go downtown, he says, you see homelessness and addiction. It's sad. Some people are just kids. Very sad, is what he shared with CBC. He said he'd like to see someone really work for the people and really, quote, be there for the people. So will Roland vote for the first time in his life? Will one of the leaders say something tonight to motivate a voter like Roland to get to the polls? That's what's at play. Election day coming up. We're live in Winnipeg South. Stay with us. Your news is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it's a nice mild start, although a little bit damp still, to the day. Our high today is going to be 13, mostly cloudy, little bit of a northerly breeze, and then the temperature really tanks tomorrow. 4 major party leaders faced off in Montreal last night in the French language election debate. Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet took aim at Liberal leader Mark Carney.
Vous revendiquez d'une expertise en gestion de crise. Je n'en ai vu aucune.
You say that you're an expert in managing a crisis. You're a negotiator, but, well, perhaps negotiating with tax havens. But when it comes to trade agreements, I haven't seen the proof. We apparently have to believe you.
Carney defended his track record.
Je viens de commencer comme Premier ministre il y a un mois.
I've just started as Prime Minister. I've been Prime Minister for a month. In the first week, I signed an agreement with the premiers of all the provinces, the Premier of Quebec and the premiers of all the provinces and territories concerning free trade within Canada.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre tried to compare Carney to the previous Liberal leader.
Vous êtes juste comme Justin Trudeau. Vous êtes exactement.
You're just like Justin Trudeau. You have exactly the same policies, the same approach. We need change. And you, Mr. Carney, you do not embody change.
You represent the ultra-rich.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh attacked the Bloc leader, trying to win back francophones who voted for New Democrats in the past.
Mais honnêtement, Monsieur Blanchet, malheureusement. Honestly, Mr. Blanchet, unfortunately, in the last minority government, you showed that you were as useless as the monarchy is. You did nothing for people. What is worse, you voted against measures that would help Quebecers.
The English language debate goes tonight at 7 Central Time, and you can hear it all live right here on CBC Radio 1 and on the CBC Listen app. And you can hear the latest national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. It is famed as the most windy intersection, but reopening Portage and Main to pedestrians could create a storm for some businesses operating below the intersection. Portage and Main is scheduled to open to pedestrians on July 1st. A 2024 city report said work to repair the concourse beneath would cost more than closing it altogether. City Council Finance Chair Jeff Berwadi says the underground concourse is deteriorating, but the city intends to keep it open and maintain it for the time being.
Right now, the plan is, again, open above right away, and then going forward, still looking at what it's going to cost to close it permanently, look to see if there's alternatives to repair it for less money.
The city says the work to open Portage and Main is on schedule, but appears the fate of the businesses below ground is still undecided. A city committee is tabling 37 new bylaw offenses, proposed offenses, to crack down on property owners and construction contractors who don't follow the rules. Cheryl Martins has been documenting dozens of derelict buildings in her Spence neighborhood. She backs the proposed new bylaws, but worries about how they'll be monitored.
Figuring out how to follow up and whether they increase, if they fine you once per year and that turns out to be enough. I know they say they're going to follow up within 24 hours and stuff, but that's a lot of monitoring. And we have about 70 vacant lots in our property, in our neighborhood, which is a small neighborhood.
Breaking the proposed new rules can carry penalties of up to $1,000. The Property Committee will debate adding new fines at its meeting next month. Plans to build an assisted living facility in Winnipeg's LeMay Forest hit yet another roadblock. The municipal board rejected an appeal from the developer. The board says the project is too dense for the land in question. The premier has already said the province is going to expropriate that land in St. Norbert and create a provincial park. A Winnipeg man is urging the Canadian government to step up and help Haitians who are fleeing violence in their homeland. Barthélemy Bolivar is an instructor at the University of Manitoba and the founder of Haitian School Without Borders. He has started a petition asking the federal government to accept 30,000 Haitian migrants now living in the U.S. They are at risk of being deported by the Trump administration as it ends a program that brought them to the U.S. under the Biden administration. Bolivar hopes people will get behind this petition and show Canada is a compassionate country.
There are things we can do, and we can still be a rich country and a country where it's good to live or to have this good life. And I think the Haitian people, they need us right now.
The Haitians are among 532,000 migrants who could be deported from the U.S. starting April 24th. Well, it is the cherry on top of the season.
Back to Shifley. He scores!
Mark Shifley scoring the overtime winner as the Winnipeg Jets beat the Anaheim Ducks 2-1. And that's a wrap on the regular season. It's also a franchise record for points in a single season for the Jets. How does coach Scott Arniel sum up this past season?
When you start day one, game one, you don't anticipate something like this happening, and there's been a lot of fantastic things. I can't credit the players enough for what they've done, and just stayed focused all 82 games, and to get it here at the end was special, and in front of our fans.
And for the second straight year, goalie Connor Hellebuck wins the Jennings Trophy for allowing fewest goals in the regular season. Now, let the playoffs begin. Saturday evening at 5 as the Jets have home ice advantage against the St. Louis Blues. You can find more news at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
I just want to nod to something that came up in the French language leaders debate last night because it was in the news, and we're going to interview that Manitoban who is concerned about Haitians this morning and find out more about his efforts. But in the debate last night, this came up, specifically Haitians who might be looking to come to Canada. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives, said he would block Haitians coming up from the U.S. seeking asylum in Canada as Trump moves to do away with their protected status. It is an issue, of course, in Quebec. Many of the French-speaking claimants have tried to settle there. And Mark Carney, leader of the Liberals, said Haitians are among the most vulnerable people in the Western Hemisphere, but he also said there are limits to what the country can handle. He said most asylum seekers are likely to be turned back to the U.S., given he was citing the safe third country agreement that is in place. So comments from the leaders coming up on this. We'll also put that to our local guest in the next hour when we talk more about that story. Right now, it is 23 minutes to 7 o'clock. I'm Marcy Marcuso with two teams today. We've got one back at 541 Portage Ave, and then we have a one on site here with Corey Funk and Donna Carrero. So why don't we go to Corey first for the traffic and commute, and then we'll swing around to the weather.
Yeah, really quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of any major issues out there, but if you're walking your bike and you're driving, you see something going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
All right, a quiet start's a good start. We'll take it. Abby, how's the weather today in the regions?
Not much of sunshine today, my friend. We're expecting cloudy skies to stick around in most of the regions with off and on showers down south and flurries in the northern part. We still have that snowfall warning in effect for parts of northern Manitoba, impacting Gillam and surrounding areas. That will continue into this morning, and then it tapers off. But the B part of that is visibility and driving will be tricky in that part of the province. Winnipeg, we are at 7 degrees at this time, mostly cloudy. Light showers we're feeling expected to wrap up as we get into the morning. Leaving behind mostly cloudy skies. A breezy day ahead with winds coming from the north. Temperatures will get to 13 degrees. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region, Malden, Winkler, Altoona, Morris, all the way down to the U.S. border. We're seeing temperatures around 6 degrees, 7 degrees at this time with partly cloudy skies. Light showers also being felt in that part of the province. That should end as you start your day. Highs will be around 10 degrees. Brandon, 0 at this point, also cloudy there. Expect similar cloud cover in that part of the province. We do have this slim chance of showers still hanging back even into the evening period, possibly turning to flurries overnight. It's going to be mild though. You warm up to 9 degrees. Down in Dauphin and the Parkland region, we're seeing clear conditions at this time, though it's chilly 1 at that point. Clouds would build through the day. Slight chance of afternoon showers. Winds will be coming from the northern north and then gets breezy at times. And we'll see highs around 6 degrees. Good morning to our friends in Gimli. 3 degrees. In Interlake region, we're expecting a cloudy start with early morning showers. That should taper off, and then the highs will be touching 10 degrees today. As we travel north into the northern region, the powerful influence surrounding areas, we're looking at -2 at this time. Partly cloudy skies will be sticking around today. Highs would be around, let's just say around 1 for that part of the province today. Thompson, -2. Warming up to near, we're going to see temperatures hover around -5 throughout the day. And then Churchill, we have snow and blowing snow in that part of the province. Today it's going to be mostly cloudy with that snow, more snow this morning. We'll see highs near -10 today. To summarize, Mercy, down south it's going to be more cloudy and mild temperatures, and then a chance of overnight showers, while the north is seeing snow this morning.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
It'll turn back again. Oh, spring, back and forth, back and forth. I want to make a small mention of something here. It's a programming note for you. During federal elections, and this has been this way for many years, the Canada Elections Act obliges CBC Radio to make airtime available for purchase by all registered political parties. It's a requirement we're under, so not all parties exercise their right to buy time. As a result, you may hear advertising on behalf of one party, although that time is equally made available to all parties. So just want to mention that as a programming note. Right now it is 20 to 7 on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube this morning. Hey, everybody, wherever you're joining us from. Let's get into what's happening in business news today. Christely Ramlakan joins us with our report via Zoom. Hello to you.
Hi, good morning, Marcy.
So the Bank of Canada holding interest rates steady for now. That announcement coming yesterday. How does that affect the housing market, do you think?
Well, real estate watchers say the decision will likely keep a sluggish housing market at the status quo. So they say the current economic environment is not inspiring consumer confidence in large purchases, such as a mortgage on a home, and the rate hold won't do much to change that. So the market has been lagging for months, and the spring market is much more muted than in previous years. Now, national home sales did pick up late last year after some rate cuts from the bank, and economists had predicted an uptick in activity throughout this year. But of course, that was before the economic uncertainty caused by the trade war with the U.S. So mortgage experts say the unchanged policy rate will do little to incentivize home buyers who have been increasingly hesitant to enter the market amid tariff uncertainty. But housing market activity could pick up if analysts' forecasts of 2 more rate cuts later this year materialize. So that would lead to lower variable rate mortgages, but volatility in the bond market has yet to result in significant changes in fixed rate mortgages.
Now, markets are going to be closed tomorrow for Good Friday and the long weekend. How are they wrapping up the week then?
Well, strength in the energy sector actually helped Canada's main stock index make a small gain yesterday, even as U.S. markets fell. Semiconductor heavyweight NVIDIA dragged on American markets. It fell after it said new U.S. restrictions on exports to China would mean a multi-billion-dollar hit to its earnings. So the S&P TSX has less exposure to the tech sector, so it closed up. And U.S. indexes are more susceptible to downward moves by major tech stocks. So the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ all closed down. Now, we also heard from the central bank south of the border yesterday. U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says President Donald Trump's tariffs are bigger than expected, but the Fed also needs more time before deciding whether to lower rates. And losses in U.S. stocks accelerated after his comments. However, his rhetoric on interest rates hasn't really changed noticeably from his last speech, but that may disappoint some investors who were maybe hoping for talk of easing rates.
And let's talk eggs. With elevated food prices, at least one company is changing its marketing for Easter. This is a head scratcher for me. I don't know if this is going to work or not.
Yeah, so a Marshmallow brand is selling $2 Easter die kits for its products in response to expensive prices. Jet Puffed says record high egg prices in the U.S. probably have some people searching for less expensive alternatives. So the Kraft Heinz brand says white marshmallows are easy to dye and are more cost effective than eggs. And it also says the extra large marshmallows are about the same size as jumbo-sized eggs. So egg prices have gone up in the States because of outbreaks of the avian flu, which killed 30 million birds. But the outbreaks have been largely contained, so wholesale prices are dropping. But it can take a few weeks for wholesale prices to appear on grocery store shelves.
I'm Ukrainian, so obviously if you want to draw on the egg with the kitska, that's not going to work for you on the marshmallow.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess you could eat the marshmallow after. I don't know if the dye is edible. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's a good question too. You have to make sure it was. It'll sink in there. What's going on in markets so far this morning? I know you've mentioned obviously they're closed tomorrow, so.
Yeah, so in Europe, markets are falling. Germany is down, the UK is down, France is down. In Asia, markets are rising. Japan, Shanghai, and Hong Kong are all up. Oil is up at 76 cents to 63.22 US per barrel. Gold is down $13.70 to $3,327.90 US per ounce. And the dollar is down 0.14 of a cent to 72 cents US.
Happy Easter. Have a good weekend.
Yes, you too. Have a good long weekend.
Thank you. That is Crystal Roundlicam with our business report. At 6:45 a.m., the following time is made available for messages provided by registered political parties as required by the Canada Elections Act.
Oh, I can't keep up with the news.
Who can?
Take this federal election. Looked like Poilievre was going to win, and now Carney's got a big lead?
Yeah, but even if he wins, we need the NDP there to fight for us.
Agreed. They got us a bunch of good stuff. Dental care, pharmacare, childcare.
I just don't want to wake up after the election and realize there's no one there to speak up for us regular folks.
Same. I'm sticking with the NDP. Sounds like we're going to need them.
Authorized by the registered agent for the New Democratic Party of Canada.
The proceeding was a paid political ad.
They soar among the trees and enrich our Earth. And this Earth Day at Fort White Alive, learn about the birds with CBC. Join us at Fort White Alive's Earth Day celebration, April 27th, for a virtual bird tour. Follow the posted QR codes to learn some amazing bird facts. Fly with Fort White Alive and CBC this Earth Day. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more.
Well, earlier this hour, we heard that some voters here in Winnipeg South wanted the leaders last night in the French language debate to talk more about the earth. I heard nothing about the environment of substance, according to one of our undecided voters here who says along the campaign trail, hasn't heard anything about the environment. We are live at the Tim Hortons at Killarney and Pembina Highway, and we will in the next hour be joined by two candidates who are running here for the NDP and for the Liberals. There is a full slate here in Winnipeg South, so we do have a candidate on the ballot for the PPC, for the Conservatives, and for the Green Party. Conservative candidate and the Green Party candidate declined our invitation, and the People's Party of Canada did not respond to our invitation for their candidate, Joanne Rempel-Fair, to join us. Listeners, though, voters is what I'm trying to get to, are joining us and talking to us this morning. Rob was grabbing his coffee. I didn't want to go on air himself, but left us some notes. He said we can share. He said, I don't like the snap election. We didn't need to do it at this time. Too many important things to deal with, especially with what's happening down south in the States. Carney has to take a day or two off to deal with that. and there's so much at stake. I don't want to rush to an election. I don't feel like we're getting a fair election on both sides to decide how we're going to vote. So he's going to be voting PC, he says. And so he has decided, but says he doesn't like how quickly this was called. So if you want to weigh in on what you're thinking about the election, especially if you live and vote here in Winnipeg South, we'd love to see you down here. I spent a couple hours earlier this week speaking to voters here as well, and I met Laverne Manson on a chilly spring morning. She's lived here for 37 years in this part of Winnipeg. She says she's always voted Liberal. So when you go to vote, do you think about the person or the leader of the party?
The person.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know Terry Duguid. I met him. A very nice guy.
What kinds of things are top of mind for you this election? What are you thinking about? What is worrying you as a Canadian?
Worrying about the pensioners, if they're going to get the right amount, what they want. Yeah, instead everybody on a budget. Yeah, so.
Does that? I don't know. I don't mean to intrude, but are you on a budget yourself? Is that a personal worry?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it been like? We're outside a grocery store. What's it been like trying to make ends meet these days?
It's okay. You just have to bake a lot and cook a lot and make homemade soup.
Yeah. So you're stretching your dollars in that regard.
Yeah. And my girls said, my children, if they don't like homemade stuff, I said, then you go and buy it. Yeah.
Are you a pensioner yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how long you've been retired and on a pension.
15 years now.
Okay. Has it changed how far that dollar goes when you think back when you first went on your pension to now?
Groceries got more expensive. Mm-hmm. Oh, and especially the maintenance on the car. Yeah. I went to, my battery conked out last week, and the mechanic I have, he said the batteries, there's nothing under 200 now.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to be half of that.
Yeah, we used to get a battery for $80.
Yeah. So it's interesting because the Liberals, some people might say they've been in power 10 years. Yeah. So why support them still if, they haven't made changes that maybe you need for affordability?
Well, PC, all they're out is for the money. They don't care about the elderly people.
What makes you say that?
It's just people talking. Yeah.
So there's something about the tone when you're hearing them do their campaign?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah, I'm freezing right now.
I know, I'm sorry. That was earlier this week. That was Monday morning. It was so cold out, and then the snow was coming sideways. Laverne Manson, she's a voter here in Winnipeg South. I just want to make a small point of clarity. The federal party is the Conservative Party, and the provincial party is the Progressive Conservative Party. So I misspoke and said PC, and I think sometimes voters will say that as well as Laverne did. But the federal party is a Conservative Party. Well, let's talk about all the parties and revisit what happened last night in the French language debate. We've already had analysis of what they said and, frankly, didn't say, as we heard, about their plans, costed out plans. We didn't get any of those last night for the economy. But let's widen out and see how the leaders perform. This is ahead of tonight's English language debate. Last night, by the way, hockey fans, I bet you were happy you didn't miss that game. Montreal, the debate was pushed earlier because Montreal Canadiens were trying to get in the playoffs, and they won last night, so they will be in the playoffs. Last night, though, despite the fact that we had 4 leaders on stage, noticeably absent was the Green Party co-leader Jonathan Pedneau, who was uninvited by the Leaders' Debates Commission. Pedneau was also uninvited by the Commission to tonight's English language debate. Now, for a closer look at last night's debate and also, the behind-the-scenes issues that are going on, including the time change and the Green Party issues, let's talk to Marco Vellotti, editor-in-chief of iPolitics. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So before we assess the leaders, because I've set all this up, was it problematic that it was, the debate was pushed back in your view and that the Greens last minute were told don't come?
I don't think it was necessarily problematic in terms of the timing. On a logistical basis, I'll be honest, made it tight for me for my drive from Ottawa here. No, I think the thing about the Greens was, if you look at the criteria put forward by the Debates Commission, it was very, very clear that you had to hit two of these three thresholds. You had to have an elected MP, you had to nominate candidates in 90% or more ridings, and you had to be polling at 4% or more. It was clear, or at least it was clear from a couple of weeks ago, that the Greens had not met the threshold. So it seemed like there was a lot of confusion about why they were still there. That being said, making this decision so late in the game, that's going to create only further confusion. Was it because Jonathan Pedneau basically said, we pulled some candidates back in ridings, we're worried about splitting the progressive vote? I don't know. But yeah, that certainly threw a wrench in things, whereas I don't think the decision itself is terribly controversial, but certainly happening so late in the game, that is something that has most of us scratching our heads.
What were some of the key or pivotal moments of the debate, especially for listeners this morning that didn't see any of it and they're wondering about tonight? But what for you stood out last night?
Yeah, there's a few interesting exchanges. I appreciate, I think every time we have these French debates, I think everyone comes to this realization that Yves-François Blanchet is such a natural, is really good on the stage. And he really kind of proved that again. He had an interesting exchange early on with Mark Carney, where he basically took him to task saying, hey, you say you're this great negotiator. You must be talking about tax havens, because I haven't seen us win any concessions from the Trump administration. Of course, referencing Carney's work with Brookfield and the great CBC story about them using Bermuda as a tax haven. There was also an interesting exchange with Pierre Poilievre, where he was facing attacks from all leaders about his views on UNRWA, the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency. Jagmeet Singh said his comments suggesting that members there were working for terrorist groups were disgusting. But then Poilievre, of course, had that interesting exchange around pipelines, where he basically said, come hell or high water, we're going to push this thing through. And if we face opposition from Indigenous communities, well, as long as the majority of Canadians are on board, we're going to do that. So I don't think any of these things really kind of change how you view the leaders, but I think they're flashpoints in terms of what these leaders want to talk about, what they want to focus on, and where they, the fact that they're really really comfortable taking these views kind of shows just what they're thinking as in terms of the kind of tension points during this campaign.
But some elections, they all agree with each other. And last night we did see differences in ideology certainly present on stage. I also, because we're in Manitoba, I'm always leaning in for Manitoba mentions. Jagmeet Singh said our province's name, and I sat up thinking, what's this about? He was talking about his support should he come in for an east-west pipeline, which would extend, of course, from Manitoba. And that was in part of his clean energy portion of the debate. So we know what they had to do, or were supposed to do last night, Marco. According to analysts, people were saying the Liberal leader, Mark Carney, with this lead just needed really not to screw it up, just play it safe, so to speak. We knew his French wouldn't be all that great. And then also Pierre Poilievre, folks were saying, might have needed to come across differently, like maybe not that, attacking, but maybe show a wider part of his personality, perhaps. Did each of those leaders do that last night, do you think?
Yes. I think the debate last night was really interesting. I think it was a great kind of substantive policy discussion. But to your point, the stakes weren't terribly high. Mark Carney just didn't really have to mess up. I think that was the big thing. Don't have any embarrassing flubs. Don't make your French the topic that we're talking about the day after. And we weren't. Was it the most sterling French? I mean, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite criticizing someone else's French skills, but it was serviceable, it was passable, and I think his expectations, he set them pretty low. He exceeded them. In terms of the other leaders, we knew they were going to speak better French. We knew some of them were better debaters, and I think that kind of came out. But yeah, the stakes were low. Mark Carney just didn't have to mess up, and I don't think he did.
Any gaffes last night?
Not really. I mean, I think about some of these funny exchanges, questions that could have tripped up Carney, like asking him what was the one American item that he's no longer buying. They all kind of ribbed him for some earlier comments about not kind of understanding the price of strawberries or doing his own groceries. But he didn't really kind of take the bait there, and he had a good enough answer. I don't think there was any kind of things that I would point to as really embarrassing. I do think that Jagmeet Singh trying to hold Pierre Poilievre to account, saying, hey, when you were housing minister, all you got built was 6 homes. That exchange was interesting because I think Pierre just refused to accept that response. But again, I don't think that qualifies as a gaffe. That was just maybe a miscalculation on Jagmeet's part, not understanding the kind of debater he was dealing with when it comes to Pierre Poilievre.
All right, Marco, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's Marco Vellotti, editor-in-chief of iPolitics in Montreal. We are asking you what you need to hear from the leaders in tonight's English language debate. So people are writing to us on Facebook. Weigh in there, please. We'll share some of your comments from Manitoba here. Also, we're live in the Winnipeg South riding this morning. We have candidates coming up on the program for the NDP and for the Liberals in the next hour. We'll hear more from voters as well. We're at the Tims at Killarney and Pembina. It is cloudy in Winnipeg at 7 degrees. Our high today, 13. A few showers. Those should end early this morning. It's kind of damp and dank and cool out there right now, and then cloudy this afternoon. So the high of 13, but no sun. It'll feel a little colder. By the way, the debate tonight, I neglected to mention that it is on at 6 o'clock. That is Manitoba time, so it's 7 Eastern. Let's go to Heather Welsh. She has other headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, a new City of Winnipeg report is pushing to implement a host of new bylaw offenses. The 37 proposed rules would cover a range of activities clamping down on property owners and construction contractors. Among the recommended offenses, failing to start or complete demolition projects on time. A Winnipeg man is urging Canadians to show compassion to Haitian migrants at risk of being deported from the U.S. Barthélemy Bolivar is an instructor at the University of Manitoba and founder of Haitian School Without Borders. He started a petition asking the federal government to accept 30,000 Haitian migrants who fled gang violence in their homeland. I'll be back with more Manitoba news at 7:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather. He will be our guest, by the way, in the next hour of the show, in addition to our election coverage. Your commute this morning, by the way, looking good. Call us if there's a problem, either in Winnipeg or outside in the regions. I know there was a lot of snow up north in parts around Gillam yesterday. Let us know what your life is looking like on the commute today. 788-3093. Well, let's talk about what else is coming up from Winnipeg South. We're going to hear from a voter here who says faith, family, and fiscal responsibility have led him to cast his ballot, or his planning to cast his ballot, for the Conservative Party. We're going to hear more from him. Also, we're going to hear from another voter who says he is voting Liberal because he feels that Mark Carney's already done a good job dealing with the threats from the U.S. Winnipeg South. Stay tuned.
Today on The Current.
I've been overweight thinking all the way back to kindergarten, preschool. It's always sort of been a part of me.
For the first time in 20 years, Canada has new guidelines for managing childhood obesity, and the support for drug treatment and surgery for kids over 12 is attracting attention. How to best reduce stigma and help families, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Federal party leaders are gearing up for their second major showdown of this election campaign. They're going toe-to-toe tonight in the English debate. It will be the last chance to see them face each other before Canadians go to the polls April 28th. Last night, French-speaking Canadians had their opportunity as the leaders debated for 2 hours en français. Janice McGregor joins me now from our Parliamentary Bureau. And Janice, what stood out for you about last night's debate?
Marcia, maybe the biggest loser were undecided voters who didn't tune in, because the format really allowed all four leaders to lay out stark differences between them and also reveal their personalities too. Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre were on opposite ends of the row of podiums. They didn't even make eye contact at points with each other. It was Yves-François Blanchet standing to Carney's left that got in the first early shot at the Liberal frontrunner, saying there's no proof actually that he's a master negotiator and the best to take on Trump. And it was Jagmeet Singh who had the podium closest to Poilievre that was most frequently tearing down what the Conservative leader had to say, questioning early on the Harper government's actual track record for building housing. And later, during the exchanges on immigration and foreign affairs, when the leaders really differed on their approaches to limiting asylum seekers, for example, we also had Singh say it was disgusting and hateful to hear Poilievre call the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, a terrorist organization and say he'd cut it because it was a waste of money, when in fact the NDP leader said it is the only organization on the ground helping Palestinians in Gaza. And that led to another uncomfortable moment when Singh asked Carney why he wouldn't call what's happening there a genocide. Carney said it's horrible, but he didn't want to politicize the conflict.
Janice, what are you watching for in tonight's debate?
Well, it's not going to feature the immigration and foreign affairs issues that prompted those clashes. It is going to have a dedicated round on what the Debates Commission calls leading in a crisis. There's going to be a separate round at the very end about tariffs and threats to Canada. And it's going to have a round explicitly dedicated to public safety and security. The choice of the organizers to leave healthcare off the list of topics is something that has concerned New Democrats in particular, who have made their advocacy for expanding Medicare central to Jagmeet Singh's campaign. He promised that he was going to try to jam it into the conversation anyway. When he did that last night, there was a moment where the moderator actually cut his mic off for veering too far off the agenda. We'll see if he tries that again tonight.
All right. Thank you, Janice.
You're welcome.
The CBC's Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Tonight, Susan Bonner and Pia Chetapata bring you full coverage and analysis of the federal leaders' English language debate. Stay tuned after for a special edition of Cross Country Checkup. Ian Hannah-Mansing will take calls to hear your reactions to the debate. It all begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on CBC Radio and the CBC News app. There is still more than a week until Election Day in Canada, but inmates at prisons and jails across the country have already had their chance to cast a ballot. Prisoners had to fight for that right. Now, decades later, an Ontario senator wants to improve the process when inmates go to the polls. Dan Tekema has more.
Believe it or not, it takes you out of prison.
Rick Sauvé knows the power of casting a ballot behind bars.
People are talking about politics in prison. They're talking about the platforms, more so even sometimes than in the community.
A former inmate, he appeared before the Supreme Court twice, helping prisoners win the right to vote, regardless of their sentence.
It made me feel somewhat whole again when I got to vote.
Roughly 23 years later, Sauvé's fight has inspired Ontario Senator Bernadette Clément, who's visited 9 prisons to learn about barriers to elections inside.
I would say the biggest obstacle around this right to vote is access to information.
The senator says the lack of internet access means inmates can't read up on party platforms and are limited to watching campaign ads on TV. Another obstacle?
They cannot vote from the riding where the prison is located. They can't vote in the riding where they will spend, many of them, many years of their lives.
Elections Canada says more than 34,000 incarcerated electors, about 41% of those who are eligible, voted in the last federal election. The senator is preparing a report she plans to share with the Correctional Service and election officials after the votes are tallied. Dan Takema, CBC News, Kingston, Ontario.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's relationship with U.S. President Donald Trump will be put to the test today. The two leaders meet in Washington with tariffs on the agenda. Meloni will be the first European leader to sit down with Trump since he threatened to impose a 20% tariff on European goods. Trump then put a pause on those tariffs for 90 days. Ukraine and its future are at the center of meetings in Paris today. The Trump administration sent 2 of its key players to meet with European officials and security experts. The U.S. and Europe keep searching for a path to help put an end to the war in Ukraine. Anna Cunningham has the details.
The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arriving in Paris for what's expected to be high-stakes discussions. It is the first time since February that the U.S. has directly engaged with Europe on peace in Ukraine.
So we appreciate you could make it.
Welcomed by European diplomats, U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff. He has met 3 times recently with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. These Paris talks come days after one of the biggest attacks of this war by Moscow on civilians in Ukraine.
The Sumy attacks shows that Russia is not willing to ceasefire,
says Eleanor Caro, an MP with the French President Emmanuel Macron's Ensemble Alliance party. The very fact that these talks are happening, Caro believes, demonstrates that the US is struggling to bring Russia on side.
It shows the failure of Donald Trump's diplomatic efforts.
Rubio is meeting with Macron. Talks will also take place with French, British and German foreign affairs ministers, along with EU national security advisers. Watching from Kyiv, Alexander Kara from the Centre for Defence Strategy says he doesn't hold out much hope.
We've seen the unreal plans being forged by Mr. Witkoff that actually is sort of capitulation.
Ukraine's foreign and defence ministers are in Paris for the talks. European diplomats say they will urge the US to put more pressure on Russia to agree to an unconditional ceasefire. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
A key infrastructure project in Canada's north is taking a step forward. The premiers of Manitoba and Nunavut have agreed to develop a transmission line from the province to the territory. It would divert energy the province sells to the United States to Nunavut instead. But there is one partner that needs to come to the table: the federal government. Juanita Taylor has more on what's at stake.
Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew and Nunavut Premier PJ Akerok signed an agreement to partner on a hydroelectric project.
Because it's about nation building, it's about climate change, it's about the economy.
Kinew says his province's wealth of hydroelectric resources will be used to light up the north instead of the United States. On Tuesday, he signed an order to stop exporting 500 megawatts of power to the U.S.
Because all Canadians know, after what they've heard from Trump for the past few months, that we need to really build up our country.
The agreement commits 50 megawatts from Manitoba Hydro to help develop the Kivalliq Hydro Fiber Link, a 1,200-kilometer infrastructure project that will bring electricity and internet service to 5 communities and 2 mines, relieving them from burning diesel for power and heat. Akerok calls this agreement historical.
This has been the vision of many Inuit leaders that wanted to connect southern Canada to the north.
Saku Investments Corporation is leading the project. President and CEO David Kaguktinek calls this partnership a game changer.
Everybody's on the same page, and we can go forward to Ottawa and press for the project's approval.
The project will cost around $3 billion, and Kaguktinek hopes the federal government will cover a third of the cost. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Yellowknife.
A team of scientists at Cambridge University thinks they have found evidence of life on a faraway planet. They're using a powerful NASA telescope to study the atmosphere of a planet called K2-18b. It is about 120 light years away from Earth. The research is pointing to the existence of molecules which on Earth are only produced by simple organisms. Niku Mandusundan is the lead researcher.
Based on our current understanding, the only scenario that explains all of this is one where it's a Haitian world that is teeming with life. And what is a Haitian world? It's an ocean-covered surface with a thin hydrogen-rich atmosphere, and the ocean being habitable.
Madetsuren calls the discovery monumental, and he cautions that more data is needed to confirm the results. And that is the latest from World Report. News anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba. I'm Marcy Marcusa, and we are live in your community, in our community. This is us out in another riding. We're on our third election remote. We're in Winnipeg South today. So our community studio today is the Tim's at Killarney at Pembina Highway, and if you can come down and join us and talk politics, we'd love to hear from you. We'll be sharing what voters have to say out in this part of Winnipeg. We also are going to be hearing from our candidates today, those that have agreed to be on the program today. So this hour on the show at 7:40, NDP candidate Joanne Bjornson is running in a riding that's never elected someone from her party. We'll hear why she thinks it's time to give them a shot. And then, as mentioned, we're hearing what voters are saying.
So I'll be voting for the first time in Canada, but I'm still on a deciding mode. But this is my first year. I'll be doing my vote.
So who will take it here? We'll have to see, because this is an interesting bellwether riding. What that means is there's a Liberal incumbent here who's been here for 10 years, but previous to that, this was long held by the Conservatives. It's gone back and forth since 1988. The way that Winnipeg South voters vote actually is how the government goes. So a lot of analysts watch Winnipeg South across the country. So stay tuned. That's why we're here, and we have much to come. Right now, though, let's go to Heather Wells, who's in our news center with headlines.
Good morning. Well, some businesses operating under Winnipeg's most famous intersection are worried about their future. Portage in Main is scheduled to open to pedestrians on July 1st. A 2024 city report said the work to repair the underground concourse would cost more than closing it. And the city has said it appears the fate of businesses below ground is still undecided. We'll hear from one man who operates a business under Portage in Main. And a city committee is tabling 37 new bylaw offenses to crack down on property owners and construction contractors who do not follow the rules. The penalties could reach up to $1,000. We'll hear more in our next local news coming up at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Abby, what's it like in the weather today? A little bit dank out there,
It's
huh?
a cloudy kind of day across the province today, not just southern Manitoba. We might be seeing a bit of light rain here and there, but don't let it dampen your mood. It's going to ease off as we get into the day, while the south will stay really cool on the cooler side, but it's still going to be mild. The north has seen snow this morning. We still have that snowfall warning in place for Gillam and surrounding areas. Snow has been falling since yesterday, and that should taper off sometime this morning. Zooming into the Red River Valley region, we're looking at Winnipeg, mostly cloudy at this time, sitting at 6 degrees. A few light sprinkles might pop up this morning here and there just to say hello, but that won't stay long. The clouds would, however, be planning to stick around for most of the day. No sun in the forecast today, but at least, Marcy, we will not be shoveling anything. We're just going to warm up to a comfortable 13 degrees today.
All right. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
It's a nice bright spot to not be shoveling anything because you never know in Manitoba. All right, let's get into what's happening on the morning commute. Corey Funk's here with me at Tim's.
Yeah, it's been a really quiet commute overall. I will say on the drive into when we were going down Pembina, the turnoff for when on northbound Pembina, kind of taking you onto Stafford, there still closed for construction. Today is supposed to be the last day of that construction, so you can't turn left onto Stafford from Pembina as of this morning at least. So a lot of people kind of try to do U-turns. So keep right is my advice if you're going northbound Pembina past Stafford. If you want to carry on, could be a little bit slow going still this morning there. Other than that, though, if you see anything else going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line if you're walking, biking, driving. Would love to hear from you. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, as I mentioned, this is a bellwether riding, Winnipeg South, and it's also a large riding, as are all of our 14 different ridings across the province. So this riding extends right through this sort of south part of Winnipeg, through we're by U of M here, of course, we're out in St. Vital, but this really pushes through beyond the perimeter, and it's going to take you all the way through St. Norbert. It's going to take you into LaSalle, Manitoba as well. So as you know, we've mentioned that voters here have voted either Conservative or Liberal back and forth through the years. Let's hear from some voters. I spent a couple hours in this riding on Monday talking to people, and I ran into Olubunmi Aregbesola, who is votes here in Winnipeg South. He said for him, there is only one choice, and it is Conservative. So, are you decided who you're going to support in the upcoming federal election?
Yes, I've decided.
And how are you voting?
I'm voting blue.
Yeah, you're voting Conservative. Is that always how you vote, or does your vote move?
It's always been the way I've voted since I qualified to vote. Is it 2018 and 19 election, I think, yeah. I've always voted blue.
Yeah. So tell me what it is about the Conservative Party that really speaks to you, and why you think they'd be the best to lead Canada.
It's just the four F's over time: freedom, religion, family, your faith, and financial responsibilities. So those are critical, factors, issues that influence some of the immigrant votes because it's closer to what we believe in from back home. Faith is top. Family is everything. Most of us here, we took that bold step of relocating for family's sake. So any party that allows me to practice my faith, take care of my family, protect my family, and create opportunities financially too as well in terms of fiscal responsibility. We believe the old age, learnings we learned from our parents is that you quote according to your material, not even your size now, meaning you don't bite more than you can chew. If you don't have money, then you should find a way of saving or increasing your income, not going into debt. So any party that, some way and the values tend towards that, influences some of our votes.
Got it. And your vote specifically. So you said since you got here, where did you come here from?
Nigeria. I immigrated there from Nigeria in 2014 precisely, January 26, 2014.
So tell me where the Liberals have let you down, because they've been in power for 10 years. So obviously they're not resonating with you on any of those, as you put it, 4 Fs.
No. Surprisingly, before this interview, we were talking about economics.
And that is you. Who were you chatting with?
Just a few of my friends. Yeah. They don't want to be on air, though.
No worries.
Economically, I'm worse off. I've had to work 2-3 jobs at some point in time now to even just pay the bills. Affordability is killing. I just filled up a tank now. I was just telling her, I and my wife, we have 2 cars. Every week is almost like $160 to fill the tank. That's huge on the pocket, and income hasn't increased beyond it was. Now you go to the groceries, a bag, you'll be shocked by a bag of grocery. You're looking at $300, $400. You don't even know where the money went through.
Where have the Liberals let you down in terms of, you mentioned, family value, and you mentioned, we talked about fiscally, and then you also mentioned freedom of religion, I think you said. Correct. So tell me why you feel like they're not the right party for you, or where you've been let down there. Why you feel better with the Conservatives, I would say when I talked about faith, I believe everybody should be free to worship whoever they want to worship, identify with whatever spirit they want to do, but that is a private choice, right? It should be in the confines of your home, with your family and all, but not try to impose or influence other people into that. Just the same way we find out over time, you can't mix religion with work, and also why then do we have to, mix some of those ideologies at work out to identify, which side I belong to and all. Those are personal choices. So by the time you put it in the forefront, then it's a turn off for me. Do you feel like the Conservatives federally understand that in a different way than the Liberals and or the other parties in terms of that separation, as you said, and that privacy line for you? Yeah, they do. You find out the leader of the party has been saying, both federal and provincially too, because there's a change on the provincial level, government shouldn't have any place in family living. That's not the duty of the government. Government is to provide the enabling environment, the support, the facility infrastructure for people to strive on the private sector. Faith is everybody's choice, and faith is not saying particularly one faith, is everybody's a big tent. And the Conservative over time, there's been involvement in the last 2 elections that is a choice. Your faith is your choice, your orientation is your choice, and the government should have no say in it. It's individuals. Yeah. For disclosure here, you have worked before at the provincial level for the Conservatives you were sharing. Are you working at all for the federal level or campaigning for anybody federally? I'm involved in a few of the campaigns. Okay. Yeah. So you're involved directly in some of the campaigns. For which candidates? I'd not want to disclose that. Okay. Okay. I'm in Winnipeg South. Yeah. Virtually a couple of the candidates in the Winnipeg South are my friends. They're people that believe in what they stand for. Yep. We've worked together in previous campaigns, and I support in one way or the other. Thank you very much for talking with us. It's a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for the opportunity. That's Olubunmi Arigbasola, who's a longtime Conservative voter, as you heard, and often volunteers also for the party at the federal and provincial levels. I ran into him when I was here for a couple hours in Winnipeg South talking to voters, and that music you heard in the background, by the way, was because the weather was so nasty the day we were here Monday morning that I had to pop inside a business, so you heard that in the background. We are live at Winnipeg South this morning at Tim's. We're at Pembina and Killarney. If you want to come down, we have candidates coming, the NDP and the Liberals, on the program this morning. The Greens and the Conservatives declined our invitation, and the PPC candidate did not return our response to see if they could get the current candidate on the program this morning. We do have voters who are popping in and talking to us. I think this is interesting because we just heard from Olubunmi sort of how he votes, and he mentioned being a newcomer. Christina is a healthcare aide, and Harold is a transit worker. They just popped into Tim's, grabbed their coffee, had to get to work. But they said that they are voting for Terry Duguid. They said they like him. This is the incumbent here, the Liberal. They said he's been good for the riding, but they told CBC it's really for the party they're voting because of the Liberals. They say, pardon me, I'm going to read this correctly. It is because of the Liberals that they're here, is what they said. They came here from Sierra Leone 20 years ago because of the terrible war. The Liberals were in power at the time, and they're very grateful and love Canada. So Christine and Harold say the Liberals will still have their vote. We talked to a number of different voters. Here's Glenn Hallett. He takes a few minutes to share who he's voting for, and then he explains why.
My name is Glenn Hallett.
Hi, Glenn. Do you live here in the south part of Winnipeg?
I do.
Yeah. So do you vote in Winnipeg South?
Right.
Yeah. Do you know how you're voting in the upcoming election?
Yes, I do.
How are you voting?
Liberal.
Tell me why the Liberals are working for you, why you're going to support them.
Well, I think the Prime Minister now, or the acting Prime Minister, is doing one heck of a job. He's doing two jobs, and I think he's doing a marvelous job.
What do you mean he's doing two jobs?
Well, he has to go into his cabinet, and he has to work there, and then he has to go back on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really hard.
So Mark Carney is, for you, is that's part of why you're supporting the Liberals?
Right.
Would you have if Justin Trudeau were still leader?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
What kinds of things matter to you as a Manitoban, as a Canadian right now, that the Liberal Party, for you at least, is the right choice?
Well, I think we have a lot of issues with the United States, and I think that's the biggest thing with me, is we used to go down to the States all the time, but I will never go back. I'll never go back. I know the people in Grand Forks and the people in Fargo that we know, they're suffering too.
So this is for you. This is the top issue is the issue with what's happening with the states.
Right. And it's not going to get any better in the near future.
When you say you'll never go back and such, like, tell me a little bit about what it was that changed it. You said you used to go down a lot. Like, what was it that shifted for you?
We used to go down there in the spring for 4 days just to get out of Winnipeg for a while, and we used to go down in the fall just before winter, and we enjoyed the restaurants, we enjoyed the stores, we enjoyed the motel, we'd get breakfast and everything in the motel. It was great to go to Grand Forks. We really enjoyed it.
Is it the tariffs themselves, or is it the comments about sovereignty? What is it that's really turned you off right now?
The tariffs have really hurt us. It's really hurt us. Not only with us, but China and the rest of the countries. It is hurting. And I don't know whether Trump's going to wake up and smell the roses or what's going to happen. I have no idea.
What other issues do the Liberals, in your view, they've been in power for 10 years, so have you voted for them in the past,
yes,
then, it sounds like? Yes? Okay, so what other things appeal to you when you think they're the right people to govern?
Well, we have a candidate in Winnipeg that does ours, is Terry Duguid, and he has done everything we've asked. He's done everything that we need.
What kinds of things have you seen him do that have made you feel good about supporting the Liberals?
He goes to the different organizations that need help, and he talks to everybody, and he's a wide open man. You can phone him in Winnipeg or you can phone him in Ottawa. He's a very good man.
In terms of how we talk about the Liberals, but let's talk about Mark Carney for a moment as the Liberal leader. Why do you think he's the right person to take on Trump and the Americans?
Well, I think he's very great in financial, and I think he knows how to handle top people. And I think that's his key figure, is he can look after this country. I really do.
What's going on here in South Winnipeg? Like, you said Terry Duguid's been present for you, but what kinds of things come up here that you look to government for? Like, what worries you as you think about your own life?
Well, the snow clearing is a big factor here. And also the jobs that are coming into Winnipeg South. They're building apartment blocks left, right, and center on Pembina Highway. And it's great to see these apartments going up. It means people are coming into Winnipeg. Because somewhere along the line, the apartments are getting filled, and I don't know how, but they are.
Are you still working? Are you retired?
No, I've been retired for 22 years.
Yeah. How's the fiscal situation being retired these days, with everyone talking about affordability and such?
Well, I got a professional grocery shopper here. She was in the grocery business all her life. So I just follow her.
Where is she? Let's get her out of the car.
She's in the car.
If she knows something we all need to know, maybe we need to get her out of the car. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. That was Winnipeg South voter Glenn Hallett. So stay with us. We're broadcasting live here from Winnipeg South this morning at the Tims, Killarney, and Pembina. Right now, though, okay, I'm going to do my best here, Scott Regehr. That's my playoff tune.
All right. Okay.
I know. Stop singing on the air. The Jets wrapped up their regular season last night. What are you thinking heading from here now?
I don't know. I'm still recovering from your tune, but
like that. There's more where that came from.
You should see. I'm sure we'll have to tape that and play it again. A nice end to the season. 2-1. They beat Anaheim. First time they've done that against the Ducks, by the way, in this otherwise awesome season. Having already secured the division, the President's Trophy is the top team in the league. Last night's victory did set a new club record for points in a season. There's Connor Hellebuck. He secured the William Jennings Trophy for allowing the fewest goals against. Second year row, he's done that. Not since Martin Brodeur was in his prime have we seen a goalie do that. Asked about all of these achievements, though, defenseman Neil Pionk says, this is all about the Stanley Cup. And we now know when that pursuit will begin. Saturday night against St. Louis, which will not only see Central Division rivals go up against each other, but brothers. Jets defenseman Luke Shen against Blues forward Braden. Luke was asked who mom and dad might be cheering for.
My dad always says when we play each other in the regular season, he says he just wants us to take it to overtime, and then it's up to us to figure it out. And now it's, I don't know. I mean, either way, they're going to have someone walking away into the second round, so I guess that's positive. But I just got a couple texts even from my sisters last night just feeling like, you got to be kidding me.
So parents Jeff and Rita with some decisions to make, Marcy, on where their allegiances lie, although, I mean, this is a Canadian versus American matchup.
After all.
Yeah.
All of the NHL's playoff matchups have now been established, and probably a good thing. Maybe they move the French language leaders debate just in case you really wanted to watch all that game with Montreal last night, right?
Yeah, it sets a very interesting precedent, doesn't it? Montreal, the last to join the playoff party last night, clinching their berth by beating Carolina. It was the Habs' fourth attempt to clinch, which meant pressure was ramping up on players in that hockey-mad city. Montreal coach Martin St. Louis.
I was stressed as well. You almost have to normalize that. We had a great conversation with the group, and I made him understand that, yes, I was stressed too, but you got to let those feelings go when the games start. But everything in between the games, it's normal to feel the way you do.
Coach St. Louis, I'm sure, was reminding his players that the last time they met the Capitals in the playoffs, 2010, when Carey Price goalied the President's Trophy winners and upset the Capitals. So we'll see whether history repeats itself.
And finishing with soccer today, where a new Canadian league kicked off last night.
Yes, and in the curtain raiser for this country's first professional women's league, things were fittingly decided, Marcy, by a star from Canada's gold medal winning Olympic side.
Quinn with the opportunity to score the first goal in Northern Super League history.
Yeah, Quinn with the goal. CBC's Signa Butler with the call. Vancouver beats Calgary 1-0. A crowd of 14,000, many wearing Vancouver Rise teal and black, took in the historic first game. And the NSL's first week continues Saturday. Toronto against the Montreal Roses. The sports spring fully in bloom.
You know how we should end?
Yeah.
Duet.
Kenny Rogers and I know so much potential here for disaster.
Happy Easter, Scott. We'll talk to you next week.
You too.
Scott Regehr with Morning Sports. Jets begin playoffs Saturday. We're about to hear more of that on your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 7:30, it's 6 degrees. Those showers appear to have passed. We're expecting a mostly cloudy day, bit of a north breeze. Still in the double digits, though, a high today of 13. Well, the four major party leaders faced off in Montreal last night in the French language election debate. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre tried to compare Liberal leader Mark Carney to the previous Liberal leader.
Vous êtes juste comme Justin Trudeau. Vous êtes exactement...
You're just like Justin Trudeau. You have exactly the same policies, the same approach. We need change. And you, Mr. Carney, you do not embody change.
You represent the ultra-rich.
Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet also taking aim at Carney.
Vous vous revendiquez d'une expertise en gestion de crise. Je n'en ai vu aucune.
You say that you're an expert in managing a crisis. You're a negotiator, but, well, perhaps negotiating with tax havens. But when it comes to trade agreements, I haven't seen the proof. We apparently have to believe you with no political experience. And so I find it's kind of funny because people say we have to unite and work together. On the one hand, you have never spoken to me before this evening.
Now, Mark Carney defended his record.
Je viens de commencer comme Premier ministre il y a un mois.
I've just started as Prime Minister. I've been Prime Minister for a month. In the first week, I signed an agreement with the premiers of all the provinces, the Premier of Quebec and the premiers of all the provinces and territories concerning free trade within Canada.
And NDP leader Jagmeet Singh attacked the bloc leader trying to win back francophones who voted for the New Democrats in the past.
Mais honnêtement, Monsieur Blanchet, malheureusement.
Honestly, Mr. Blanchet, unfortunately, in the last minority government, you showed that you were as useless as the monarchy is. You did nothing for people. What is worse, you voted against measures that would help Quebecers.
The English debate goes tonight, 7 o'clock Central Time. You can hear it all live right here on CBC Radio 1 and on the CBC Listen app. Some businesses operating under Winnipeg's most famous intersection are worried about their future. Portage and Main is scheduled to open to pedestrians on July 1st. A 2024 city report said the work to repair the underground concourse would cost more than closing it altogether. One business owner, Eric Chi, has been operating there for the past year.
When I signed the contract last year, and I knew that there was a rumor of the opening the surface and the closing down the concourse level. But when I signed the contract, the city told me that it's not going to happen anytime soon. So 5 years of contract is good.
Now, with just 3 months until Portage and Main opens to pedestrians, Chi wants to know what the fate of the underground concourse will be as soon as possible. The city has said it appears the fate of businesses below is still undecided. A new City of Winnipeg report is pushing to implement a host of new bylaw offenses. The 37 new rules would cover a range of activities clamping down on property owners and construction contractors. Among the recommended new offenses is failing to start or complete demolition projects on time. Daryl Warren is president of the William White Neighborhood Association.
We need to go ahead and make these guys accountable and clean these properties up, because it's not fair to the residents to have to put up looking at this every day for years and years and years.
The city delayed a vote on that proposal yesterday. It came at the request of the Winnipeg Construction and Manitoba Home Builders Association. Both asked for more time to go over the new regulations. A Winnipeg man is urging Canadians to show compassion to Haitian migrants at risk of being deported from the U.S. Barthélemy Bolivar is an instructor at the University of Manitoba and the founder of Haitian School Without Borders. He has started a petition asking the federal government to accept 30,000 Haitian migrants who fled gang violence in their homeland. Currently, they are living in the U.S. but are at risk of being deported by the Trump administration as it ends a program that welcomed them under the Biden administration. Barthélemy says Canada has helped others who were fleeing violence.
We did things for the Syrian people, we did things for the Ukrainian people. What's different? When actually there's more people have been killed per day in Haiti than in Ukraine.
The Haitians are among 532,000 migrants who could be deported from the U.S. starting April 24th. Well, it's a cap on a great season.
Pionk winds up, fires, score!
Neil Pionk in the second period on Sportsnet as the Jets beat the Ducks in overtime 2-1. The win ends the regular season with a franchise record of 116 points. One other award to end the season. Goalie Connor Hellebuck takes the Jennings Trophy for a second straight year for allowing the fewest regular season goals. The Jets now get set for Game 1 of the playoffs, and Neil Pionk is ready.
Can't wait. Best time of year. Tonight was just about keeping good habits and making sure we're doing the right things. So now we play for real.
Play for real. Those real games begin Saturday, 5 p.m. The Jets have home ice advantage against the St. Louis Blues. You can find more Manitoba news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Playoffs are so much fun because there's so much at stake and they're all going for it. It's my favorite thing in the world.
It's so nerve-wracking too.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great. And the whiteout party sold out, right?
Yep. Exciting stuff. So, and the weather should be okay for Saturday. Saturday's actually looking sunny and a high of 9. So first we got to get through today though. So thank you, Heather, for the news. Let's get into our forecast. Abby, today is kind of pesky.
Yes, we need to get through today before we get into the weekend. We're looking at cloudy and cooler day across the province. We're going to see some off and on showers in most of the regions. It's more like spring showers in the region today. But we're still looking at Gillam and surrounding area where we have that snowfall warning in effect. It began yesterday. It should ease off sometime this morning, and then those settled snow on the ground would be what would be causing issues for commuters in that part of the province. So driving could be tricky in the Gillam and surrounding areas. For Winnipeg and the Red River Valley region, we're looking at temperatures around 6 degrees, 7 degrees. At this point, it is cloudy. A few showers from earlier on. It cleared off already. Now we have this mostly cloudy skies outside. Highs will be around 13 today with breezy north winds developing this afternoon. Similar conditions we're seeing in the Pembina Valley region. We're looking at temperatures around 5 degrees at this time, warming up to 10. Brandon is at 0, still sitting at 0. We'll get to 9 degrees for folks in Brandon. Dauphin is at 1. It's already sunny there. The sun made its appearance in that part of the province at 1, heading for a high of 6. Gimli is currently sitting at 3 degrees. Partly cloudy skies you do have there, warming up to 10. Flin Flon, the past surrounding area, we're looking at temperatures around -3 at this time. Partly cloudy skies you have. Expect light flurries today, highs around 1. Thompson, good morning. You still have that snow falling there at -2. Expect about 5 centimeters before the end of the afternoon, and we'll see you warm to around -5, while Churchill is at -13. Right now, we see the snow blowing and still falling in that part of the province. Cloudy conditions will come around, and you still see there's more chance of snow in that part of the region with highs around -10. So mostly cloudy skies down south and snow up north, Mercy.
All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Just before we turn to traffic, let's get some voter comments on now. There's probably a dozen people in here now sort of waiting for coffee or sitting and having their breakfast at Tim's in Winnipeg South, at Pembina and Killarney. So we've heard from a number of different voters today. Let's go to what Rem had to say. Rem said he doesn't know how he's voting, but for sure not the Liberals. Says some of the issues he's concerned about are safer buses, so local issue here in Winnipeg. And also he would like higher fines for drug dealers, so he's weighing in on some of the crime and punishment concerns. Bob Jackson said he's voting Conservative, even though he says, quote, I don't love Polyev. He really, quote, hates the Conservatives running attack ads. He says, why do the Conservatives only do attack ads? Why not say what he will do instead of saying what the other parties don't? And he added he wishes that Janice Morley-Lecomte would be here so he could ask that question of her. That is the Conservative candidate for this riding. We did extend invitations. The Conservatives, the Green Party also declined our invitation to be on the program today. The People's Party of Canada did not respond to our invitation for their candidate, Joanne Rempel-Fair, and I should mention the name of the Green Party candidate is Manjit Kaur. We will hear from the Liberal incumbent, Terry Duguid, after 8 o'clock on the show, and in a moment we have a live interview with the NDP candidate here in Winnipeg South. So weigh in, write in, come down. It is all about Winnipeg South today. Getting to Winnipeg South was a pretty good drive this morning, and it's been pretty quiet on the traffic line, hey?
Very quiet so far. I haven't heard of any major issues. Reminder, you still can't turn left from northbound Pembina onto Stafford because of construction. That construction, though, according to the city, is supposed to wrap up today, so hopefully today is the last day where you can't turn left onto Stafford from northbound Pembina. Might be a little bit slower because of that. But if you see anything else going on, give me a call on the CBC commuter line, 204-788-3093.
Well, voters here in Winnipeg South have been nothing if not consistent. For decades, they've elected either Conservatives or Liberals to represent them in Ottawa. They have not elected the NDP. But Joanne Bjornson thinks it's time for that to change. She is the NDP candidate for Winnipeg South, and she is here live at Tim's. Hi. So a first-time candidate. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've lived in Winnipeg South for just about 21 years. I raised 3 children here, 3 wonderful young adults. I'm a sales manager at the RBC Convention Centre, and I'm the QP 500 lead steward for the Convention Centre.
Why are you entering federal politics now?
I know that my party needs to have a voice, and we need our ideas heard. I know what our ideas and a seat at the table accomplished these last 2 years with $10 a day daycare, dental care, expansion of pharmacare, and I've never been more proud of my party. And if we could do that with 25 seats holding that balance of power, imagine if we had more seats.
I want to ask you some listener questions that came in. One of them is from Gary Lawler. He's an undecided voter. So he says for him a big question is in regards to Donald Trump's tariffs. But he wants to know how your party will best deal with the tariff fallout. So it's not so much with dealing with him individually, the U.S. president, but the fallout and job losses. What would the NDP do to help?
My party is one for workers and for people. So ensuring the proper supports are in place to make sure people can weather this storm.
Supports like what?
Think of how during COVID, the supports that came into place, it pivoted quickly and made sure people could, still buy groceries, pay their rent, pay their mortgage, and not lose everything while we kind of get through whatever's happening to the south of us.
What are you hearing at the doorsteps here in Winnipeg South?
It was funny because a couple of weeks ago I wasn't hearing much about American effects, tariffs, Trump, whatever else, and that's changed in the last couple of weeks. I think with the instability of tariffs are on, tariffs are off, tariffs are more, tariffs are less. We don't know from day to day what's happening down there, so a lot of unsureness.
Another question. This one comes from a conservative voter and volunteer, in fact, for some of the campaigns provincially and federally, but was speaking to us as a voter. Now, they are said that they attach fiscal responsibility. They named the F's: family, fiscal responsibility. They said, and freedom, specifically of religion, and to keep your personal views, religious views private. And those were the issues for him. But he felt that the Conservatives were best, specifically on the economy, fiscally. How do you push against the perspective that the Conservatives, some people are feeling, obviously this voter is, are the party that's going to be the safest and the best with their pocketbook, and they don't trust the NDP with the money?
I would say look at facts and reality, because both federally and provincially, that's not the case. You look at the biggest deficits, and it was Conservatives, whether federally or provincially. The Liberals, too. I want to ask you a question about that. We had a number of different people saying they're voting Liberal, but what they brought up is being loyal to the incumbent here, Terry Duguid. He's been here for 10 years. How do you earn those votes or get people to think that perhaps a Liberal vote might not be the right thing this time around? I'm basically reminding people that there is another option for progressive voters. The default doesn't need to be always Liberal. We have more in common than we have apart, our two parties. But I'm here to offer a choice, and I don't want NDP ideas to be lost because of what we are able to accomplish when we have a seat at the table. So give us a chance. Take a look at all the party platforms and vote with which party's values align most with yours versus out of fear.
What is something you'd like voters to know about before they head to the ballot box or be thinking about?
I think the number one message is making sure that Winnipeg South voters are engaged and make sure that they do get out and vote, that they're not staying home because they either don't know enough or have that whole perception of, politics are politics. My voice means nothing. Everyone's voice means something. So my main message would be, however you choose to vote, get out and vote.
What are you telling voters that the NDP will do specifically to combat what is happening with inflation and with price of groceries in the bottom line?
One of our policies is grocery caps on essential groceries. It's not giving subsidies for new refrigerators for Loblaws. We're not supporting the billionaires. We're supporting the workers and the families that need those supports.
Are there issues here specific you think that are important to people in Winnipeg South? I asked you at the doorsteps, but I'm wondering, when you think about this area, you started by saying you've lived here and raised your family here. So what does this area of Winnipeg, what do you think are some of the bigger concerns coming out of here?
Winnipeg South is so diverse. I think about, the suburb I live in, where I'm surrounded by families. I think about all the seniors that live here, so many newcomers to the area. I think it's a wide range of topics that's the same as across the country. Affordability, being able to find a place to live, being able to, have public health care so that your health care is determined by your health card, not your credit card. Keeping services public, including broadcasting.
What is the NDP's plan on the environment? Early this morning, we had another undecided voter who said that his top concern is one that he feels people aren't talking about, any of the parties. He's curious what the NDP's commitment to the environmental issues and climate change would be.
I'm afraid I haven't studied up on that. I've been listening more to what I'm hearing on the doorsteps, and it hasn't been on people's radars from the people that I've been talking to.
Thank you very much, Joanne Bjornson. As I say to all the candidates on CBC, good luck on the 28th.
Thanks so much.
That is first-time candidate Joanne Bjornson. She is the NDP candidate for here in Winnipeg South. Coming up, as mentioned, the Liberal incumbent Terry Duguid will be joining us live at Tim's at Killarney and Pembina. Both the Conservative candidate and Green Party candidate declined our invitation, and the People's Party of Canada did not respond to our invitation for their current candidate, Joanne Rempel-Fair.
Patio season is upon us, and the Winnipeg Comedy Festival is hosting some serious fun at the Gas Station Arts Center patio April 30th to May 4th. Featuring the Great Comedy Showdown, the music of DJ JPQ, and the CBC Fun Zone of patio games. Free, all ages, every festival day. The Winnipeg Comedy Festival. Seriously funny. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for details.
Oh, I agreed to be part of the open mic night at the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. I'm really nervous. It's at the Gas Station Theatre. There, I've said it out loud. I actually haven't told anyone because I'm like, whoa! And it's the day after the election, so I've been busy thinking politics, as you can imagine. But I'll have to get my funny bone ready. But I want to try all these things. I'm one of those people that turned 50 last year, and I'm like, okay, what scares me? I'm going to go try that. So off I go. But check out the information for the Comedy Festival. Lots of good shows coming up around town. Right now it is 7:47 a.m. I'm Marcy Marcusa. We are on location in Winnipeg South this morning. I do want to mention that coming up this half hour, we're going to build on a story that's in the news. 30,000 Haitians are at risk of deportation in the United States, and a Haitian man from Manitoba, as you've been hearing, says Canada should open its doors. We're going to have more on that. Also, the leaders of the Conservatives and the Liberal Party both addressed this in the French language debate last night. So we're going to, in case you missed that, we'll get that on the air for you as well. Right now, though, live voters, it might be sounding busy behind me because we've got probably a lineup of, there's probably 10 people lined up and a few more picking up coffees here at the Tim's. Johnny's taken time to sit down with us, though, in between getting his coffee. He is a voter here in Winnipeg South. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. So how are you voting?
I'm going to go Conservative.
Okay. So
Yes.
tell me why you're leaning or why you're going to vote Conservative.
Basically, I think that they're a little more fiscally responsible. I know COVID happened. That's going to wreck the books, and nobody saw that coming. Nothing against any of the representatives in this area. They do a good job. But I'm just thinking about who is going to get in charge, like either majority or minority minority power. I'm thinking about the top, nothing about the members in the area here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not thinking locally.
Yeah.
You're thinking in the big picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what do you like about Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, or is it mostly the policy? You mentioned you're thinking about the fiscal responsibility.
Things like Pierre Poilievre. Sorry.
That's okay.
Things more like he is definitely against the carbon tax. And I'm not necessarily saying he's against the environment, but probably there's more issues right now. And for sure, Liberal is more pro-environment.
Yeah.
That's probably obvious.
So do you like that? So you're voting Conservative, but you're
Yeah.
saying the Liberals are more pro-environment.
They probably are.
But environment is a concern for you, or not so much?
It is, but like I know for sure. Like I know the first day Carney was sworn in, he took the carbon tax.
He did that as well, yeah.
But I believe I could be wrong. I could be misinformed too. But I believe the carbon law is still in Parliament, and I could
there's still a tax on big emitters.
Yeah.
And there's the carbon taxes off the average person.
Yeah. So I could be misinformed, but I believe like it's going to be applied a different way, like where it's going to be industry, companies,
yes,
this
that's
and
correct.
that.
And you don't like that? You want it off everyone?
Well, I believe eventually it's going to trickle down to we somehow have to pay.
So you don't trust him? You think it's going to come back?
Well, I don't know. I'm not clairvoyant, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just
But he's
saying.
left a concern for you.
Exactly. And also, if companies in industries in Canada, if it's affecting their margins, and they're like, well, I'm trying to run my steel, I'm trying to do mining, I'm trying to do this, and they're like, well, you know what? In the States, it's, that's how
you don't think they'll be able to be competitive.
Maybe that's how you get more business out of Canada and into the U.S., and that's going to affect the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us in
no
between
worries.
coffee.
I appreciate it.
I hope your coffee's not cold.
No, it's good. Thanks, Marcy. Yeah.
Thank you. That's Johnny. He votes Conservative, or he's voting Conservative, rather. Decided in this election. He votes here in Winnipeg South. If you want to weigh in this morning, the Liberal incumbent's going to be our live guest after 8. We are at Tim's at Killarney and Pembina. Well, next, we're going to move to that story that I mentioned about the Haitians who are at risk of being deported in the United States, and a Haitian man from Manitoba who says he hopes Canada will change that. U.S. President Donald Trump is ending a program implemented by the Biden administration allowing people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela into the States. Under the program, 532,000 migrants were allowed to live and work in the U.S. legally for 2 years. There are plans to revoke the program starting April 24th. So, Bartholomew Bolivar says he wants Canada to step up. He's an instructor at the U of M and founder of Haitian School Without Borders. He created a petition. He's asking the Canadian government to accept 30,000 Haitians that would be affected. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcia. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. What kind of response have you had to your petition so far?
Actually, we have 194 people that have signed the petition, and also there are like more people that are trying to share the petition. And we have the formula: sign, share, poll, and monitor. So that's the 4 letters we are working on to help people to make a difference.
Tell me what people here are saying about what's happening in the United States.
Pretty much you have a very special situation because in the past, the U.S. has been portrayed as a safe country for asylum seeker, but now it's no longer the case. I can tell you that the government has many tricks to pretty much cancel any kind of petition for asylum. So what they did is sometimes they just record those people as dead people. Okay, so you're no longer into the system. You can be deported. There's a scenario recently I've heard in the journal. A lawyer, U.S. immigration lawyer, have received a deportation letter. Right. So you can see how hard the Trump administration is working in order to deport those people by fear. Actually, you have to pay $998 US per day as a penalty if they don't just quit the US.
I don't know if you heard this, Bartholomew, last night in the French language debate, so I'm going to just share this because this issue came up. So Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives, said that he promised to block Haitians coming from the U.S. seeking asylum. He says as Trump moves away to do away with the protected status. But also Liberal leader Mark Carney said, he said Haitians are among the most vulnerable people in the Western Hemisphere is what he said. He said there are limits to what the country can handle. So he also said most asylum seekers are likely to be turned back to the U.S., and he cited the Safe Third Country Agreement that is in place. How does that leave you feeling this morning?
Kind of disappointed, but you know what? We as citizens we have a duty to continue to push for what is right, and we understand that when it comes to election, it's about vote, and people are looking for votes, and they're trying to kind of go with the trend. We do understand that immigration right now is the trending issue, but actually it's about saving lives. It's about people that they cannot go to school, hospital are shutting down, hospital, universities, school, people get killed within university facilities, right? You understand that you send your kids to school, and then next time, you have a call saying that he's being shot within a university facility, right? Mm-hmm. So pretty much it's very crucial and critical for Canada to do something. We understand that the state has signed something about the safety country, but actually it's not. And you can understand that.
Yeah, as you outlined, your feeling is that it is not a safe third country. I do want to ask you about the bigger picture for a moment, because some people will say that, we don't have enough supports to welcome more people into Canada from anywhere right now. Mark Carney last night saying he wants to sort of hold the line until we have better supports in place. What do you think of that?
Definitely yes, but we have to go into the details, right? The demographics of those people. Those people are already bilingual, so they speak French and they know enough English to work, like to get integrated easily because they're being in North America. So they know how to take a bus, how to go to work on time, and etc. And second of all, I know people are talking about housing issues, right? So we have to build more housing things. But there's another parameter, and sometimes people ignore. What is it? Is the density of the population. So after Australia, Australia has three inhabitants per square kilometer. Canada has only 4, and in the States it's 38. And in all the OECD is 39 people per square kilometer. And Canada actually is 4 people per square kilometer.
So you're suggesting that we have lots of room to grow based on density?
Lots of room to grow.
Comparisons. Yeah.
Actually, Canada is empty. We know there's a housing issue, but it's more about affordable housing. It's more about the government that has been pretty much that take a pause on funding affordable housing, and we think the government that's something people should do. And so it's I don't say it's a false problem, but actually it's not really a critical issue because we have 4
Which is
people
how you
per
see
square
it.
kilometer.
Yes. We'll have to leave it there this morning. Thank you very much for telling us about your concerns. We really appreciate having you with us.
I appreciate it too, and thank you for having me.
That is Bartholomew Bolivar. He's an instructor with University of Manitoba and founder of Haitian School Without Borders. You can hear more about this today through the news and online. Speaking of the news, Heather's here with headlines.
Well, a city committee is tabling 37 new bylaw offenses to crack down on property owners and construction contractors who don't follow the rules. They'd cover a range of activities. Among the recommended offenses is failing to start or complete demolition projects on time. Breaking the proposed new rules could carry penalties of up to $1,000. We'll hear some reaction to that. And plans to build an assisted living facility in Winnipeg's LeMay Forest hit another roadblock. The municipal board rejecting an appeal from the developer. The board says the project is too dense for the property in question. We'll hear more in our next local news coming up at 8:30.
6 degrees in Winnipeg, mostly cloudy. It's dried out a little bit, a high today of 13 degrees. The commute has been cooperating, 788-3093. Still ahead, it's his to lose. The incumbent for this Winnipeg South riding, Terry Duguid, will be live here at Tim's, at Pembina and Killarney. Plus, now we're getting tons of voter comments. We'll share those after 8.
Today on Q with Tom Power.
When you go through the best-known works by the Canadian filmmaker Deepa Mehta, something that keeps on coming up is controversy and backlash. Sometimes her films led to protests, burning effigies, invasions of her sets, but she'll tell you why she never wants to be called controversial.
And it's okay to have voices in the diaspora who challenge you. I like that.
That's coming up on Q, followed by Commotion with Elamine Abdel Mahmoud on CBC Radio 1, the CBC Listen app, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
For the first time in 20 years, Canada has new guidelines for managing childhood obesity, and the support for drug treatment and surgery for kids over 12 is attracting attention. How to best reduce stigma and help families, coming up on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Canadians have another chance to hear from party leaders in their final showdown before the election. They debate again tonight, this time in English. Last night's debate in French was mostly a cordial affair with no clear winner. Trump, trade, and track records were some of the issues. Rafi Boudjikanian was watching.
Les Canadiens, vous êtes bien mieux de gagner.
Radio-Canada host Patrice Roy telling the Habs they better win after the debates commission moved last night's leaders face-off up by 2 hours to avoid a major conflict for audiences. A light-hearted moment in an evening that had few.
On shake dans nos culottes quand l'automobile va pas bien.
We shake in our pants when Ontario's auto industry is not doing well, said Yves-François Blanchet, the leader of the Bloc Québécois, trying to paint Liberal Mark Carney as someone who does not have Quebec's interests at heart, saying he's helping the auto industry with massive counter tariffs, but not his province's aluminum sector.
Vos chiffres sont mauvais.
Your numbers are off, Carney pushed back. Blanchet also attacked him and other party leaders on their finances.
J'appelle ça des cadres financiers Harry Potter.
Accusing them of making Harry Potter budget promises. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre did reveal where he would make some cuts.
On va couper les consultants.
We'll get rid of government consultants, he said, and added he would also cut down on bureaucracy by attrition, not replacing every public sector worker who retires.
Il va couper les services de santé. Mark Carney aussi, elle a dit clairement.
The NDP's Jagmeet Singh accusing both Poilievre and Carney of targeting healthcare for cuts, something both men deny. But nobody has released the costed platform, leaving everyone open to this kind of criticism, something likely to come up at the English debate tonight, with only 10 days to go until Election Day. Rafi Bujikani on CBC News, Montreal.
Tonight, Susan Bonner and Pia Chattopadhyay bring you full coverage and analysis of the federal leaders' English language debate. And then it will be your chance to weigh in. Stay tuned after for a special edition of Cross Country Checkup. Ian Hannamansing will take calls to hear your reactions to the debate. It all begins 7 p.m. Eastern on CBC Radio and the CBC News app. A crucial battleground in the April 28th election is the ring of municipalities surrounding the city of Toronto, known as the 905. The region has been dominated by the Liberals for the past 3 elections, but before that, the 905 was key to Conservative victories under Stephen Harper. Mike Crawley takes us to one riding seen as a must-win for Pierre Poilievre's Conservative team.
Drivers commuting home in the riding of Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, a prime target for the Conservatives. The Liberals won this seat by fewer than 1,500 votes last election, their slimmest margin of victory in the Greater Toronto Area.
That is the battleground.
Fred Delory is a former national campaign director for the Conservatives. He says the 31 seats in this region are pivotal.
There's tight races, and any path to government goes through the 905.
What's on voters' minds here?
Number one, that we do not become the 51st state, for sure. I am not happy with the Liberals. They just seem to do the same thing over and over again.
Currently, I'm undecided. We'll see what they say in the next coming weeks.
Volunteers gather at the Liberal campaign office in Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill. Candidate Leah Taylor-Roy says the tone of what she heard from voters shifted once Justin Trudeau resigned in Ottawa and Donald Trump took office in Washington.
So people were really angry. And I think now there's not as much anger, but there's fear. There's concern, anxiety. It's now about protecting our country and what's best for our country. And
CBC News requested an interview with the Conservative candidate, Kostas Menegakis, but did not receive a reply. The Tories have had success in this riding before, as recently as 2019, and in 2011 took every seat in the 905 but one. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Richmond Hill, Ontario.
The future of Ukraine is at the center of a series of talks beginning today in Paris. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will be part of the meetings with French President Emmanuel Macron. The 2 Trump advisors are expected to hear European concerns about Russia. The meeting is taking place as Washington continues its efforts to arrange a ceasefire. Ukraine is also at the table for this round of talks. The country's foreign minister, defense minister, and a presidential advisor have also arrived in Paris to participate. Averting a wider conflict with Iran is also part of the conversation today. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is in Washington for a sit-down with U.S. President Donald Trump. Meloni is there to talk tariffs. She's hoping to position herself as a key broker between the European Union and the U.S. administration. But as Megan Williams tells us from Rome, some worry she may put Italy's interests ahead of the EU.
Among Europe's major powers, Italy's right-wing leader, Giorgia Meloni, is the most ideologically aligned with President Trump. They're both nationalist, anti-immigration, and frequently accuse mainstream media of bias. Meloni was the only EU leader to attend Trump's inauguration. And now she's the first to meet him face to face since he announced steep new tariffs on European goods. With Italy's export-driven economy at stake and a $60 billion trade surplus with the U.S. to protect, she's walking a diplomatic tightrope. Political analyst Cecilia M. Massottilotta says Meloni's trying to keep two audiences happy, Italy and the EU.
On the one hand, she wants to present herself as the privileged partner of the U.S. On the other hand, she wants to look reliable vis-a-vis European partners.
Trump's temporary 90-day pause on tariffs gives Meloni some breathing room, enough to play the role of mediator, not deal maker. Still, French officials worry she could break EU ranks and push for Italy to have a bigger transatlantic role. It's a scenario former head of the Bank of Italy, Pierluigi Ciocca, calls unlikely. I don't think Meloni will risk alienating Europe over Italian Parmesan and Prosecco, he said. On Friday, Meloni hosts U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance here in Rome, hoping to further raise Italy's influence with the Trump administration. Megan Williams, CBC News, Rome.
A key hearing for the Menendez brothers begins today. A Los Angeles judge will decide if Eric and Lyle will be resentenced. The brothers have been behind bars for 3 decades for killing their parents. But now their family is arguing new evidence means their sentence should be reduced. Steve Futterman has the details.
The Menendez brothers were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole in 1996. In the last year, though, there's been a new push by supporters and relatives of the brothers to have the case reviewed, sparked by what they claim is new evidence that the brothers were sexually abused by their father, Jose. Anna Marie Baralt is a Menendez family member.
If Lyle and Eric's case were heard today, with the understanding we now have about abuse, there is no doubt in my mind that their sentencing would have been very different.
Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman opposes any resentencing. He says the sexual abuse defense is a ploy and that the brothers, during their trial, testified that was not the reason they killed their parents.
They do not meet the standards for resentencing. They have not exhibited the full insights and accepted complete responsibility for their actions.
The brothers will be connected to the courtroom today with a video link, and it's possible they will make statements and give testimony. If the judge reduces their sentence, Eric and Lyle Menendez would likely be eligible for parole. But even if the parole board recommends their release, it could still be blocked by California Governor Gavin Newsom. Steve Futterman for CBC News, Los Angeles.
We have found evidence for possible biological activity on an exoplanet.
That is Cambridge University's Niku Madhusudan. He says scientists have found possible signs of life on an alien planet. The Cambridge team used a powerful telescope to detect molecules associated with life. The planet is called K2-18b. It is 2.5 times the size of Earth and 120 light years away. The planet has a vast ocean and a hydrogen-rich atmosphere. The team describes the discovery as historic in the search for life elsewhere in the universe. Madhusudan has this warning.
This is a monumental discovery, but we also have to be extremely cautious. We have to deal with it very carefully in that we want to be really, really robust in establishing whether this is actually life that we are seeing.
Scientists want to do more study to be sure there is no other way the molecules can be made without life. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. For news anytime, go to cbcnews.ca. And if you like the World Report podcast, please like us and follow us and tell a friend. It helps spread the word. I'm Marcia Young.
We are live in Winnipeg South, and voters here have a big choice ahead of them.
We have a lot of issues with the United States, and I think that's the biggest thing with me, is we used to go down to the States all the time, but I will never go back.
How are you voting?
Liberal. I think the acting Prime Minister is doing one heck of a job.
Yeah, you're voting Conservative.
It's just the four F's: freedom, religion, family, your faith, and financial responsibilities.
So this is an interesting riding, as I've been saying from this morning when we set up here at the Tims at Killarney and Pembina Highway. The way that Winnipeg South voters vote, and they have voted Liberal and Conservative and supported both parties in the past and voted people into office, the way that this vote goes since 1988 matches the way the election goes. So we have a lot to explore. This half hour, the Liberal incumbent Terry Duguid will tell us why he thinks he's the right choice. Earlier, we had on the NDP candidate for this area. We did extend invitations to all of the candidates to be here today. The Greens and the Conservatives declined our invitation, and the People's Party of Canada did not return our request to have their current candidate on, who is on the ballot in this area. It is right now 8:11 a.m. I'm Marcy Marcusa. You are with Information Radio, a special edition here on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on the app and on YouTube if you're watching today. Let's go into the headlines though. With Heather Wells. She's back at 541 Portage Ave.
Good morning. Well, some businesses operating under Winnipeg's most famous intersection are worried about their future. Portage in Maine is scheduled to open to pedestrians July 1st. A 2024 city report said the work to repair the underground concourse would cost more than closing it altogether. The city has said it appears the fate of businesses below ground is still undecided. A Winnipeg man is urging Canadians to show compassion to Haitian migrants at risk of being deported from the U.S. Barthélemy Bolivar is an instructor at the University of Manitoba and the founder of Haitian School Without Borders. He started a petition asking the federal government to accept 30,000 Haitian migrants who fled gang violence in their homeland. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 8:30.
Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Abby, we were the hotspot in the province, but now we're sharing that with Morden. So where's Winnipeg at right now?
Winnipeg at 6 degrees at this time. Similar conditions as mentioned with that part of the province. Morden all the way down to the U.S. border. We're seeing temperatures around that similar conditions. It's going to be mostly cloudy. A few raindrops here and there, but that will not be sticking around for long because it's more about the clouds taking control of the skies today, and then some breezy conditions in the afternoon period coming from the north. Just enough to mess up a bit of, just blow some hair around. But we're warming up to about 13 degrees today.
Hair or bunny fur or whatever's happening.
Yep.
Thinking Easter already. Okay, let's get into what's going on in the morning commute. Corey Funk is here with us.
Yes, I thought stalled car season was over, but it's still around. With got a call from Mark on the commuter line. He says south end of the Maryland Bridge, right in the center lane, there's a stalled car, so it might slow down your commute a little bit there. Otherwise, things are running fairly smoothly this morning. Haven't heard of any major issues, but if you're out there, you see something, if you're walking, biking, driving, give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number, 204-788-3093. Marcy.
I just want to get in here and mention one other thing we have this half hour because it's really cute.
Yeah.
We assigned one of our producers yesterday to go out and talk to kids for their advice for the Jets about how they can succeed in the playoffs.
I'm excited.
Right?
Oh, they could say the best things. I'm stoked.
There was a show that was called that back in the day.
Oh, that's right.
All right, that's also coming up ahead this half hour on Information Radio. Well, up next, our broadcast looking at Winnipeg South and the upcoming election continues live from here at Tim's in this riding. Terry Duguid is my next guest, and he's no stranger to elections. In 1989, he was first elected as a city councillor in Winnipeg. He held on to that seat till 1995. 20 years later, he became the Liberal MP for Winnipeg South, and today he's here to hold on to that. Tell us why he believes he should hold on to the job. Thank you for being live with us.
Great to see you, Marcy. Welcome to Winnipeg South.
So a lot of Manitobans know you. Of course, not everyone. I'm mindful of new listeners and new voters. So tell people about yourself and why you're running again for this job.
Well, I'm a lifelong Winnipegger. I did go to Ottawa and to Calgary to get my education, but for the most part, I'm a lifelong Winnipegger, a very passionate Manitoban and Winnipegger. And I'm a very proud advocate for our community here in Winnipeg South. It is the fastest growing community in Manitoba, a very diverse community, people tracing their roots back to 100 countries. We live together in peace and harmony, and we really are a model for the world in how people can live together. But with that growth comes needs, recreational needs. So I've been able to provide through the federal government investments in our major community centers, Dakota, Southwest Community Center, a strong advocate for Victoria Hospital and reopening the emergency ward there. But and very, very importantly, we are the home of the University of Manitoba, our major research university, and employs thousands of people. And we've of course secured major investments for that institution. Housing, Lake Winnipeg, Churchill, the new home of the Canada Water Agency. I've been a very active MP at the local level as well as at the provincial level.
I'm going to get into voter questions. There are a lot of them for you as you're the incumbent. One of them, I know you're asked continually, all Liberals have been asked this, which is why should they trust your party? You've been in power for 10 years. What's going to be different this time around? Early on, we had an undecided voter who said he was on the wave of Justin Trudeau 10 years ago, and now he's voting and he's thinking he's going to change his vote. How do you push back against it's just time for a change?
Yeah, well, I think the Liberal government over the last 10 years has done some incredible things. Actually, reduced child poverty by 500,000. We've invested in infrastructure. We got our country through the pandemic, the worst health and economic crisis in our history. Inflation, cost of living has been a real challenge for many of our families, and so there's a lot of frustration out there. But there is this sense that there needed to be renewal, and we have that renewal in our new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who has a different take on many issues, and particularly the importance of the economy, growing our economy so that it works for everyone, pushing back against the United States, who is attacking us economically. I think he is the person for our time because of his unique background, getting us through major crises that have impacted our country.
Johnny was on the air with CBC. He says he's voting Conservative. He also, though, made pains to say no offense to the individuals running in the other parties, but he is voting Conservative because he believes they're better for fiscal responsibility, and there's a trust issue. So despite what the Liberal Party, your party, did with the carbon tax, he feels like that's still going to come back and trickle down to the individuals, even though right now it's lifted. What would you say to someone who doesn't have trust?
Well, I would say we have the best economy in the G7. We have the lowest debt to GDP ratio. There is the need to be fiscally responsible. I think we hear Mark Carney talking more about that. And really the key is growing our economy so it can support the important social services that we've come to rely on and need. And, the Conservatives have one playbook, and that playbook is cuts. Pierre Poilievre was part of the Harper government. We saw what happened. Childcare was cut. Healthcare was cut. The environmental programs that we cherish were cut, and so we need to be fiscally responsible, but we need to invest in our people. We need to invest in our economy.
I want to ask you a question that actually it came from a number of different voters. When I was out here for 2 hours earlier this week talking to people in Winnipeg South. Some people have said that they don't want identity and gender issues to be part of the politics. They feel that politics have no business making those things, talking about those things in the campaign trail. They believe those are private issues, and they feel that the Conservative Party understands that, but that your party doesn't. What's your response to that?
My response is that the Liberal Party is the party of the charter brought down by Pierre Elliott Trudeau. It is a value that we cherish as a country. Everyone has equal rights, no matter what their orientation, religion, background, gender. We need to treat everyone equally. And so that is really the fundamental mindset, I believe, of our government, and we will defend the charter come what may.
Rob was in early this morning, Terry Duguid. He said he doesn't like the snap election. He says there's too many important issues to deal with, and there's too much at stake here right now. He also said he's voting Conservative, but he wanted to ask he wanted me to pose a question to you about Mark Carney and the snap election and why that was necessary to have the time frame on it like this.
Well, Mark Carney does not have a seat in the House of Commons. He's a new Prime Minister, and he has asked the Canadian people for a mandate at a very very crucial time in our country's history. I believe this is the most important election in our history. The United States, Donald Trump is an existential threat to our country. He wants to own us, as the Prime Minister has said. He's threatening our sovereignty. He's threatening our economy. And so Mark Carney, the Liberal Party, has asked for a mandate. And certainly what I hear on the street, and I'm knocking on doors each and every day, is my residents welcome this election as a chance to have their say.
What will your party be doing for the environment? Especially, I'm asking you this. You have done a lot. That's been one of your big areas. You've been tasked with that both professionally and personally. You've chosen that as something you care deeply about to put forward for many years. And yet the carbon tax is cut, and we're not hearing a lot of specifics from the Liberals about what you're going to do moving forward.
So I am the new Minister of Environment and Climate Change, which is a great honor. I've worked in this field all my life, from the time I was a city councillor to the present day, and really the environment is very, very important. You can't have a strong economy without a strong environment. I wish climate change had a higher profile in this particular election, because I think it really does portend the future of our economy.
But profile or not, what are you going to do?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been very, very active on the environment. We have the most ambitious climate plan in our history. We've signed on to the Paris Accord. We are going to meet those targets come hell or high water. And in Manitoba, the front and center issue has been Lake Winnipeg. So important to our identity, so important to tourism, so important to all those people who have cottages and fisheries. Lake Winnipeg is probably at the highest profile issue, and that issue I've been working on for 30 years and will continue to.
That's our time. I'm giving equal time exactly to all the candidates. Terry Duguid, as I say to everyone, good luck on April 28th.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
that is
Marcia.
Terry Duguid. This is the Liberal incumbent. He is rather for Winnipeg South. Previously on the show, we had live the NDP candidate, Joanne Bjornson. Both the Conservative candidate, Janice Morley-LeConte, and Green Party candidate, Manjit Kaur, declined our invitation to be here. And the People's Party of Canada did not respond to our invitation for their candidate, Joanne Rempel-Fair. The time now is 8:22.
My name is Bond, James Bond.
He's the world's most famous super spy and one heck of an advertising pitchman. From high-end watches to beer and breakfast cereals, 007 has been busy. Even the Bond villains have been hawking products.
Oh, Mr. Energizer Bunny, out for a stroll.
Brand, James Brand, on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on CBC Listen.
8:23 a.m. the time right now. Getting busy here now at the Tim. Still really cloudy out there. We're at 6 degrees in Winnipeg, and we are expecting a high of 13, but we're not going to see a lot of sun today. Well, I'll tell you what is making people feel sunny. The Jets making the playoffs, facing the Blues on Saturday night. Our Winnipeg whiteout is almost here. NHL playoffs begin this weekend. The schedule confirmed yesterday. So Jets, Blues on Saturday. Game 1, 5 o'clock at Canada Life Center. And the weather's going to be good, people. Looks pretty good. Sunny and 9 for Saturday is what we're looking at if you're heading downtown. So fans of all ages are getting ready to cheer on our team. CBC's Jim Agapito caught up with some little fans, some young fans, and he asked them if they had any playoff advice for the Jets.
What advice would youth hockey players give the Jets going into the playoffs?
Lorenzo Vargas.
And how old are you?
7, turning 8.
Okay, and what position do you play?
Right wing, I think.
So how excited are you about the Jets playoffs right away?
Very excited.
Okay, why are you excited?
Because if they win, they get the cup.
Who is your favorite player?
Kyle Connor.
What advice would you give Kyle Connor for the playoffs?
Like, to have a successful game and I hope you guys win. We all support you. Alexandra Isabel Donisha Poche. I'm 9 and I play forward.
How excited are you right now for the playoffs?
I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm happy.
Who's your favorite player in the Jets?
Connor Hellebuck.
Okay. Connor Hellebuck. What advice would you give Connor Hellebuck for the playoffs?
Get all those pucks. My name's Austin Martin, and I'm 10, and I'm going to be a center.
How excited are you for the playoffs right now?
Excited.
And why are you excited?
Because the Jets are going to win.
Say, for example, we're going into overtime, okay? What do you tell Connor Hellebuck to make sure he doesn't let any goals in?
Secure the net. Clear the puck.
Mason Kenneth Watts. 9.
Who's your favorite player in the Jets?
Mark Scheifele.
Okay, Scheifele. If Scheifele were listening, what advice would you give him?
Just get the puck. It's like taking candy from a baby. Owen Watts.
Okay, Owen, how old are you?
9.
What advice would you give Scheifele for the playoffs?
Just to try and get the puck and keep it.
My name is Matt Atkinson, and I'm 13 years old.
Who's your favorite player in the Jets right now?
Josh Morris here, Kyle Connor.
If you were to give advice to both of those guys, what would you tell them going into the playoffs?
I don't know, maybe just hard on pucks, I don't know, score some goals.
Question for you. Let's play another situation. It's a shootout. What do you tell the Jets during that time if it's a shootout? If you were the coach, what would you say to them before?
Try your best, and it's okay if you don't score, just try your best.
If Connor Hellebuck were listening and it is a tied game, what would you tell him?
Don't let any goals in.
You're the coach. You have to give them a pep talk for game 1 of against St. Louis. What would you tell the guys?
I would tell them to go out there, play hard, play off hockey, lay some hits, get pucks in deep, lots of shots, pepper the goalie, and let's get a win.
We're going into overtime, okay? What do you tell the Jets then?
I say to do or die, pretend it's game 7, and just go out there, play nerve-free, and go get a win.
What would winning the cup mean to you?
A lot.
Yeah? Why would it mean a lot?
Because I love the Jets a lot.
What would it mean then for the Jets to win the Stanley Cup?
I would be speechless. I would be so happy for them.
What would it mean to win it all?
It would be exciting.
How excited would you be?
Very excited.
What would a win then mean to you and for the city, for us to win the cup?
I think it would be good for the city. First Canadian team to do it in a while, so I think that would be good for the Winnipeg culture, yeah.
Go, Jets, go.
Go, Jets, go.
Go, Jets, go.
Anxiously awaiting Jets Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Jim Agapito, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Cute. Young fans talking to Jim over at the Hockey for All Center. Game 1 Saturday, puck drop at 5 o'clock at Canada Life Center here in Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. 8:28 is the time right now. CBC's live on location. Our community studios, the Tims at Pembina at Killarney. We've been here talking to voters who are voting in Winnipeg South. What a riding. I mean, it's gone conservative. Right now it's liberal. However people vote here matches what happens and the outcome at the federal level. That's been since 1988. That's why they're called a bellwether riding. A couple late comments coming in here as people are lined up getting coffee and sharing how they're voting or not. Sarah Gwynn Peters saying issues for her, interprovincial transportation. No one's talking about it. We live in one of the coldest provinces in Canada. There's no bus service outside Winnipeg. It's got to become a federal issue because the province can't handle it alone. So she's watching for what the parties might say about that. Remember, the leaders' debate is tonight, so we'll see if we get any information on some of these things people are raising. Brian Dudick came in and shared, how come the Conservative guys didn't show up? Candidate he's referring to. So just questioning that. He is saying he is voting for the Liberals. He's voting for Carney. He feels that Pierre Poilievre, in his view, is too much like Trump. I'm not paraphrasing. I'm reading exactly what listeners have said to us. Voters have said to us this morning. People have been coming in and sharing their thoughts. That's what this is all about. It's about democracy in action. We invite all the candidates, and we try to connect your questions and issues with those candidates. It's your vote on the 28th. So to that end, the leaders' debate tonight starts at 6 o'clock. That is local time for when you can watch it in Manitoba. Marjorie Dalhouse is back in studio, actually, at 541 Portage Ave. What's the call in today, Marge?
Well, Marcy, we're going to stay with the federal election. Of course, the French leaders' debate was last night. We've got the English leaders' debate coming up this evening. We're going to be talking with Chris Adams, taking a closer look at how the federal election campaign has been so far. And again, we're going to be asking you, what are you watching for this federal election? What do you want to hear tonight coming up during the leaders' debate? So call in after 12:30 with your questions and comments.
All right. Thank you, Marge.
Thanks.
Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, it is 6 degrees. Not a bad day. It's a little cloudy. We'll have a bit of a north breeze and a high this afternoon of 13. Enjoy that because tomorrow it's going to be chilly. It is famed as Winnipeg's most windy intersection. But reopening Portage and Main to pedestrians could create a storm for businesses operating below the intersection. Portage and Main is scheduled to open to pedestrians July 1st. A 2024 city report said work to repair the concourse beneath would cost more than closing it altogether. City Council Finance Chair Jeff Brawati says the underground concourse is deteriorating, but the city intends to keep it open and maintain it for the time being.
Right now, the plan is, again, open above right away. And then going forward, still looking at what it's going to cost to close it permanently, look to see if there's alternatives to repair it for less money.
The city says the work to reopen Portage and Main to pedestrians is on schedule, but it appears the fate of businesses below ground is still undecided. A city committee is tabling 37 new bylaw offenses to crack down on property owners and construction contractors who do not follow the rules. Cheryl Martins has been documenting dozens of derelict buildings in her Spence neighborhood. She backs the proposed new bylaws, but worries about how they're going to be monitored.
Figuring out how to follow up and whether they increase, if they fine you once per year and that turns out to be enough. I know they say they're going to follow up within 24 hours and stuff, but that's a lot of monitoring. And we have about 70 vacant lots in our property, in our neighborhood, which is a small neighborhood.
Breaking the proposed new rules can carry penalties of up to $1,000. The property committee will debate adding the new fines at its meeting next month. A southwestern Manitoba father is on trial in Brandon, accused of killing his 11-week-old baby daughter. Halen Taylor died almost 9 years ago, but Kiefer Mikas wasn't arrested until 7 years after her death. CBC's Chelsea Kemp reports.
A witness testifying in Kiefer Mikas's manslaughter trial repeatedly called out to him, pleading for him to confess. Crown witness Crystal Taylor says she was with her cousin Kara Taylor, the baby's mother, when she received a call from Mikas saying Halen was having trouble breathing. Taylor says she called 911. She told the court they rushed back to her cousin's home on the Sioux Valley, Dakota Nation, and found Mikas holding Halen as her lips turned blue. Court heard the infant was taken to hospital by ambulance, where she later died. Mikas wasn't arrested and charged until January 2023. Kara Taylor testified that it was her call to police in 2022 that moved the investigation forward. She called police after Mikas made a tear-filled confession to her that he had hurt someone. Kara told the court, "I think he hurt my baby." Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Brandon.
Canada's main party leaders will face off tonight in an English language debate in Montreal. It follows last night's French language debate. Liberal leader Mark Carney, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, and the Bloc Québécois Yves-François Blanchet are expected to answer questions around affordability, tariffs, and threats to Canada. U.S. tariffs and the economy were also topics discussed at yesterday's French language debate. Voters elect the next Prime Minister April 28th. Now, you can hear tonight's debate. We're going to carry it live starting at 6 o'clock Central Time on CBC Radio and on the CBC News app. A Winnipeg man is urging the Canadian government to step up and help Haitians fleeing violence in their homeland. Barthélemy Bolivar is an instructor at the University of Manitoba and founder of the Haitian School Without Borders. He started a petition asking the federal government to accept 30,000 Haitian migrants now living in the U.S. They are at risk of being deported by the Trump administration as it ends a program that brought them to the U.S. under the Biden administration. Bolivar hopes people will get behind the petition and show Canada is a compassionate country.
There are things we can do, and we can still be a rich country and a country where it's good to live or to have this good life. And I think the Haitian people, they need us right now.
The Haitians are among 532,000 migrants who could be deported from the U.S. starting April 24th. You can stay in step with the news throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
And thank you for the morning. Last quick look at traffic, Corey?
Yeah, there may still be a stalled car on the south end of the Maryland Bridge in the center lane. Heard about that half an hour ago. As well, car with its hazards on, says St. Vital Import on northbound Main, just right around McDermott in the far left lane. So keep right to get around that.
All right, let's have some thank yous here. Our news department, Heather Wells, Megan Ketchison, Joni Nicolo, as well as Aaron Broman. Associate producer who worked on the program today, Calcadam Mulugeta. Our producer of our election content and our remotes are Donna Carrero. Our crew live on scene, of course, Corey, you just heard from, as well as Corey Funk, who's on the show daily with me, as well back in studio. I want to thank Brad Lillies, who's our YouTube producer and switcher, and Abby Adeyemi, of course, who is our senior technician and covers the weather. Speaking of which, Abby?
The Red River, the Pembina Valley, the Interlake region, we're going to see clusters of highs around 10 to 13 degrees. Brandon and Dauphin would get between 6 and 9, and then up north, we're going to see -5 to 1 degree. But up north in Churchill, it's chilly, deep freeze territory, snow. Highs near -10. But in Winnipeg today, 6 degrees, mostly clouded. The sun just made it appearance, Marcy. So
yes,
it's a good
here
one.
south as well, not just downtown. So it's just cracked through.
13 degrees.
Right on time. Easter looks nice, by the way, folks. Sunday sunny and a high of 16 in Winnipeg. So we'll see what the long weekend's going to bring. Happy Easter if you're celebrating. We don't have a program tomorrow because it's Good Friday. We are back Monday with Information Radio. Big thanks to producers Nellie Gonzalez and Leif Larson. And thanks to Tim's for having us here today.